A helicopter cuts across the sky, while chaos rages below as a dungeon break spreads through the city, with monsters flooding the street and falling one after another, some felled by gunfire, others struck down with precision, before the focus shifts to Sung Soo-ho, who launches a fierce kick that smashes into a massive beast. Sending it crashing back, he wipes out enemies with ease, then pauses to reflect that every monster is falling in a single blow, and he cannot even gauge the scale of his newfound strength. Suho's attention drifts to a squad of hunters fighting together nearby. One of them remarks, while swinging his blade, that ever since he received the strange black gear, his body feels lighter, and now even he can bring down magic beasts. Suho watches with a faint smile, noting that the shadow items he created must be boosting their abilities, and decides they do not need his help. Raising his hand, he calmly invokes Arise, and calls forth his newly obtained skill, Shadow Creation. He recalls that this power lets him use the essence of shadow soldiers, entering his mind to dismantle and reforge them into gear. Suho absorbs the corpse of a slain giant, and immediately a series of system windows appear, revealing items each with different grades and properties. He notices the gear he envisioned clearly turned out rare, while a gauntlet he forced into shape ended up common, making him wonder if matching the item to the material's nature raises its quality. A new status window opens, showing his level, class, stats, and skills. Suho muses that the ability to store items within his shadow came with his advancement. Though it works only on equipment, another skill appears, Shadow Item Contract, allowing him to name heroic grade or higher items to boost them. Though restricting him to only equipping that bound item, he ponders its potential, while also questioning the meaning of his class name, Irregular White Shadow, which hardly seems to describe him. As he thinks, more monsters charge in. He readies himself, when suddenly heavy footsteps echo and a figure leaps down, crushing a massive beast with sheer force, landing in a stance. It is Park Dojin. Wearing a confident grin, he moves smoothly, as multiple monsters rush him, then activates his Amplify skill, his hand glowing, before he unleashes a strike that obliterates them in a single motion, leaving Suho and the other hunters in awe. One hunter gasps at how Dojin wiped them all out at once, as corpses litter the ground. Park Dojin locks eyes with Suho, smiling, while Suho looks back, uncertain. The scene shifts to Suho's uncle, Yoo Jin-ho, who is watching the battle broadcast, tears running down his face as he shouts in relief at his nephew's safety. Beside him stands Chairman Woo Jin-chul, who quietly comments that it is a relief. Then his phone rings. It is Choi Jong-in, asking if he has seen the broadcast of the Black Mask Hunter. Soon, Lim Tai-ji-yu joins the call, dashing across rooftops, insisting that Suho is the same masked figure from before and vowing to place him under arrest. Jin-chul quickly orders that no violence be used, since there is no proof Suho is evil. But Lim Tai-ji-yu angrily protests, arguing that Suho's hidden face proves his guilt, and accusing him of ties to the Star Powder and the death of Lee Min-sung. Choi Jong-in interjects calmly, saying he does not believe Suho is a villain, though he agrees that he should be brought before the Hunter Association. He adds that his own investigation revealed Suho is the nephew of President Yoo Jin-ho, who has connections to the association's chairman, explaining that he trusts their sense of justice and hopes for a wise decision. Chairman Jin-chul remains silent, listening intently. On the battlefield, Park Dojin's phone suddenly rang. The caller was from his guild. He answered with a steady tone, saying, "Yes, Guildmaster, he is standing right in front of me." Suho noticed this and thought quietly to himself, "So this is the man who rose to S rank, but why does he keep smiling at me?" Park Dojin then replied again to the call, "Yes, I understand, Guildmaster." When the call ended, he turned towards Suho, still wearing that same calm smile, and addressed him directly. "Hunters Sung Suho." Suho observed him carefully and thought again, "He is smiling yet again." Then Park Dojin spoke in an even voice, saying, "The Guildmaster of the Reaper Guild has ordered me to escort you to the Hunters Association." Suho responded cautiously, asking, "So this is what the Reaper Guild wants from me? And since you mentioned the association, this clearly is not a recruitment, is it?" Park Dojin's demeanor hardened, as he explained that Suho seemed unaware of the current situation, and that in truth, he was wanted for the murder of Vice Guildmaster Lee Min-sung, and for suspicion of spreading Star Powder. Suho was stunned by the revelation, and Park Dojin added that it would be best if Suho came quietly without causing problems. At that moment, one of the nearby hunters who had fought beside Suho spoke up. "Wait, there must be some mistake. He helped us." Another hunter angrily accused this of being an abuse of authority. Suho raised a hand and reassured them calmly, saying, "I am fine. Thank you for defending me." Another hunter murmured in disbelief, while Suho then chose his path, saying, "I will go willingly. I had already planned to visit the Hunters Association." Dojin nodded with approval, replying that works out perfectly. As Suho prepared to leave, one hunter remarked in admiration about how he was not only noble, but even gifted them new equipment. Suho suddenly recalled something and began drawing the shadow gear back into his body, as a system notice confirmed that shadow items could be absorbed and stored, then summoned at will. Suho reflected on how convenient this was, while Park Dojin watched intently, thinking the aura around Sung Suho has completely shifted in these few days. What kind of growth has he gone through? Suho asked, "Are you not coming?" Park Dojin thought silently that the danger of the star fragment backfiring had lessened and that he needed more time to refine it before attempting to bend an S-rank hunter to his side. So for now, staying close to Suho was best. As they walked together, another hunter's phone rang. Soon all of them checked their devices, and one exclaimed in shock. "It is an emergency alert. Jisan Prison is in chaos, the facility that holds the worst awakened criminals." The message warned of a massive prison break, with around 500 C-rank inmates escaping, suspected of using illegal stimulants. Nearby hunters were ordered to respond immediately. Another hunter muttered that the stimulants must be connected to the rumored star powder. The words hung in the air, and Suho stopped in his tracks. Park Dojin turned to him and asked with a serious tone, "You are not planning what I think you are." Suho answered firmly, "I need to stop those prisoners." Park tried reasoning that enough hunters would gather, and his presence was not needed. But Suho shook his head, saying, "If they are fueled by star powder, ordinary hunters will not be enough." Park exhaled heavily, realizing the risk, and admitted that if Suho refused the association, it would put him in a difficult position. After a moment of thought, he closed his eyes and decided to let it go, saying, "Let us say I failed to stop you." Even after trying, Suho thanked him sincerely and promised he would still visit the association later. Then, with a single leap, Suho bounded across the rooftops, heading for Yusan Prison. Park Dojin watched him vanish into the distance, before allowing a faint smile and whispering that this was the perfect chance to witness just how powerful Suho had truly become. Sirens rang across the city as chaos erupted at the prison, where inmates clashed violently, some dead, some fighting. The colossal compound with towering walls had one side shattered into ruins. From the shadows, a voice emerged, condemning humanity for their cruelty and their method of embedding mana crystals into the necks of prisoners to kill them. Seated proudly atop rubble near the broken wall was a man addressing the gathering convicts, declaring that ever since the Great Cataclysm, they had only used their awakened gifts to take what they desired. But the Hunters Association branded them as criminals and locked them away. His fist clenched as he vowed revenge, and the prisoners listened closely. He shouted that hundreds of awakened fighters, from D rank to B rank, were assembled here. Their rage built up from years of oppression, and now was the time to unleash it upon the world. He raised his hand and roared the command to trigger a dungeon break. This man was none other than Hwang Dong-suk, the infamous inmate of Jisan Prison and the elder brother of American S-rank hunter Dong-soo. In the center of the city, loudspeakers echoed with urgency. Announcing a massive breakout at Jisan Prison, civilians were ordered to evacuate at once under the protection of nearby hunters. The scene shifted to a quiet apartment building, where the front door of one unit suddenly began to bubble and melt away under intense heat. A blazing hand tore through the hole and unlatched the lock from within. 3 fugitives entered quickly. Prisoner number 3 glanced around and remarked that the place seemed deserted. Scarface prisoner replied that the residents must have fled after hearing the alarm. Without hesitation, they rummaged through closets, changing into civilian outfits. Prisoner number 2 voiced concern, asking if they could truly stand against the Hunters Association, especially when A and S rank hunters were involved. Scarface prisoner sneered, reminding him of the plan, saying even an S rank would be powerless if they seized the city and held people hostage. He then lifted a glowing shard, the star fragment gifted by Dong-suk, declaring that the association banned it only because they feared losing control. Prisoner number 2 hesitated, but finally muttered that if Dong-suk said so, it must be true, especially since they would have an S rank joining their side. While they prepared, prisoner number 3 excitedly opened a cabinet and shouted that the place was full of expensive liquor. He boasted about finding a 30-year-old Macallan, exclaiming at its value, while Scarface snapped at them to stay focused. Unknown to the intruders, a boy was curled up inside a cupboard, trembling, watching in terror. He whispered to himself that he needed to report them quickly. His small fingers typed frantically on his phone, but his breath caught when Scarface ripped open the door and loomed over him with a twisted grin. asking mockingly if the boy wanted a drink. The perspective changed to rooftops where fire spread across the city, chaos consuming the streets below as prisoners clashed with hunters. One inmate drove a blade straight through a hunter's chest with brutal force. High above, Hwang Dong-suk stood on a building, surveying the destruction, grinning at the sight. He marveled at how a single word from him had stirred even high-grade criminals into rebellion, declaring proudly that this was the authority he commanded. From behind him, a voice urged him to move while the other inmates created distractions. Dong-suk scowled, snarling that the man had no right to order him. Being nothing more than his younger brother's lackey, the stranger corrected him, saying he was no subordinate but had been contracted to escort him. Dong-suk's pride flared. He seized the man's collar, spitting that a B-rank dared to look down on him. Tarshik, the B-rank awakener, restrained his fury, thinking to himself how pathetic Dong-suk was, too cowardly to consume the star fragment for fear of its consequences. A fleeting thought crossed his mind to kill him on the spot, but a memory resurfaced of a past conversation with Dong-suk's younger brother, who had dismissed the association's excuses, warning Tae-sik that his only duty was to deliver the elder brother safely. Failure would come with dire consequences. Jolted back to the present, Tae-sik forced himself to relax, answering cautiously that he would guide Dong-suk as he pleased. Elsewhere, a helicopter touched down on a rooftop, and from it emerged Chairman Jin-chul alongside Choi Jong-in. Choi broke the silence, remarking that it was the first time since the cataclysm they had been deployed together. The chairman replied firmly that he could not stand by while innocent civilians suffered. Choi asked what had become of the restraints the inmates were meant to wear. Jin-chul explained grimly that the prison's control center had been destroyed, and that association hunters nearby had been ambushed by unknown assailants, some left near death. Choi frowned at the thought that AA rank guards had been overwhelmed, and that the criminals now fueled by star fragments suggested a force of frightening strength behind rebellion. At that moment, Lim Tae-gyu arrived, declaring that his suspicions of a mastermind were confirmed. Jin-chul acknowledged him, thanking him for his assistance. Park Do-jin stood close by, silent, observing. Lim Tae-gyu continued coldly, saying that Sung Soo-ho had ignored the association's summons. Jin-chul froze at the mention of Soo-ho. Lim pressed on, stating that Soo-ho had instead gone to Jisan prison and that it was obvious what his intentions were. He claimed Soo-ho had planned the murder of Lee Min-sung from the beginning, that his use of a mask was part of a cover-up to hide his ties to Star Powder, that as a false rancor concealing his true level he should be deemed a top-class villain. He ended by declaring this was why he was joining the mission. To eradicate the villains, Chairman Jin-chul's tone rose with urgency, as he argued there was no proof that Hunter Sung Soo-ho had gone to Jisan for malicious reasons. Choi Jong-in stepped forward with a sharp rebuttal, saying Soo-ho vanished without explanation, rejected the association's summons, and then appeared in the middle of the prison chaos, asking why he concealed his awakening rank if he had nothing to hide. He concluded that since no one could clearly judge Soo-ho's intentions, the safer course was to regard him as a villain. Jin-chul turned toward him in disbelief, his voice trembling as he exclaimed, "Even you, Hunter Choi Jong-in?" Standing nearby, Park Do-jin listened in silence, calculating. His thoughts cold. Facing these S-ranks directly was impossible. He questioned whether Soo-ho had truly failed to anticipate such suspicion. He then reflected on how he once assumed the star fragment would not spread after the association banned star powder. Yet now, even those same hunters pursued the fragment in spite of its brutal side effects. With that realization, he smirked internally, deciding it would be wiser to observe from the background and wait for Soo-ho to make his move. Far away within dense forest, Soo-ho was dashing at full speed, weaving through branches, his body propelled forward by beast possession. In his mind, he urged Gray to endure a little longer. The loyal beast gave a weary whimper. Finally bursting from the tree line, Soo-ho leapt straight into the burning city where the prison break was raging. He scanned surroundings, sensing something deeply wrong. Then the air was pierced by waves of desperate screams, pleas for help. His jaw tightened as he realized he was hearing dying voices through the sharpened senses granted by the bond skill. Refusing to delay, he sprinted across rooftops, racing toward the cries, telling himself the destruction would spread. Dropping from the final roof, his beast form dissolved, the effect fading. Leaving him panting and drenched in sweat, he steadied himself and pressed on. In a shadowed alley, he came upon a group of prisoners drenched in blood, reveling in the slaughter of civilians. One stared in confusion, muttering, "What the hell?" Another sneered, pointing at him in Gray, saying a mutt and some guy just fell out of the sky. Soo-ho wiped sweat from his brow and praised Gray softly for holding out. Gray gave a faint, exhausted bark. Suho's eyes sharpened as he stepped forward, declaring that from this point, he would handle everything. One prisoner squinted suspiciously, asking if he was a hunter. Another laughed cruelly, asking what he could possibly do in his exhausted state. Yet before they could react, Suho slammed one of them into the ground with overwhelming force. The rest froze in shock. Suho's expression darkened, his teeth clenched as he spoke with fury, saying if they had escaped prison, they should have kept running instead of butchering innocents. Pressing his foot against a prisoner's face, he delivered a final warning. Time was short, and he would only say it once. Either they surrendered quietly and allowed themselves to be knocked unconscious, or they resisted and faced death. His aura surged violently, his fists coiled tight, his voice dropping low and cold. The scene in Suho's memory, an old man stands ankle-deep in a calm stream, the water cool and quiet. Beside him sits a small child, Suho, legs crossed as he stares up at his grandfather. The elder's body is relaxed, but scars run across his skin, carved reminders of battles long past. Suho tilts his head, curiosity shining in his young eyes. His small voice asks, "Grandpa, why do you have so many scars?" The old man chuckles, a low, warm laugh. He raises his arm and points to a jagged mark across his forearm, saying this one was from saving a boy about your age from a burning building. His hand drifts to his ribs where another faded line rests. This came from stopping a drunk from hurting others in the street. His voice softens as he recalls each memory, each wound carrying its own weight. Suho listens quietly, his wide eyes absorbing every word. Then he asks, "But why would you get hurt just to protect people you do not even know?" The grandfather smiles and rests a rough hand on the boy's hair, his eyes gazing into the distance as if looking back at his own youth. "It is not that I do not fear pain. It is that my body always moved before my mind could stop it." The present slams back. Suho stands in a bloodstained prison corridor, his boot grinding down on the face of a fallen inmate. His voice slices the silence. "You have two choices. Let yourselves fall or resist and die." Murmurs ripple through the crowd. One whispers, "Did you see that kick?" Another narrows his eyes and mutters, "Is he some high-ranked hunter?" A third, far too bold, sneers from behind, mocking the fear of the others. "What does it matter? We have star fragments." At a signal, prisoners pull out glowing shards, shoving them down their throats. Instantly, their bodies convulse with power. Muscles bulge, veins darken, and their auras flare wildly. Arrogant laughter erupts as they boast. One yells, "I feel strong enough to take an A rank." Another shouts, "Maybe even an S rank." Suho's gaze hardens. "So you choose death," he mutters. Then a voice drips into his mind, venomous and mocking, Lee Min-sung, long dead, now only a specter haunting Suho's thoughts. The phantom circles him, snarling that those men have eaten the fragments they will kill, and Suho hesitates. He sneers, "You are still soft. Your class change meant nothing. You are still just a boy." He urges Suho to kill them as he did before, his own death wound tearing open again across his stomach, laughter howling through Suho's skull. But in the real corridor, Suho's boot shifts. The skull beneath it shatters with a crack. Silence follows. Then fear spreads through the crowd, their earlier confidence flickering away. The spell of arrogance breaks, and then rage takes over. The prisoners surge with knives and crude blades, screaming as they charge. Suho does not retreat. He steps forward, his hand snaps out and seizes the wrist of the first attacker. He twists sharply, stealing the weapon, then smashes his fist into the man's hand, bones splintering with a sickening crunch. The man howls, but Suho gives no mercy. With a single slash of the stolen blade, steel tears through flesh, and the prisoner collapses in a pool of blood. Suho steps over the body without hesitation, eyes locked on the next wave. Hai's inmate stood frozen in terror, hands shaking as his voice cracked. Why can't I see it? I swallowed a star fragment, didn't I?" His disbelief lasted only an instant before Suho's fist crashed into his jaw like a hammer. Bone shattered, teeth flew through the air, and the man's body was thrown backward into a wall where he collapsed in agony. Suho advanced, ready to finish him off, but two more rushed from behind, one with an axe raised high, the other slashing with a short sword before either weapon could land. The ground beneath Suho twisted with movement. Shadow spears erupted upward, piercing through both attackers midair, their bodies convulsed, mouths spilling blood as they dropped lifelessly. Just then, a hand touched Suho's shoulder. He turned and saw Lee Min-sung, his long-dead enemy, wearing a calm smile laced with mockery. "You really have changed in such a short time," Min-sung said in a playful tone, stepping closer as if concerned. "Still, you could have just restrained them. Was it really necessary to kill them all?" What makes you any different from a beast if you cannot separate humans from monsters? His cruel laugh echoed as his image dissolved into nothing, his final words lingering. It seems you are the real monster now. Suho's eyes narrowed. Baru, he called. From the shadows the insect knight emerged, bowing deeply. Yes, young monarch, his voice filled with respect. Devour these villains and search their memories, Suho commanded coldly. Find out who is leading them and why they chose to attack civilians instead of escaping? Baru tilted his head, concern in his tone. Young master, are you certain you are all right? Suho replied evenly. I am fine, but Baru still pressed. I understand your desire to protect the innocent. Yet should you not be more careful about revealing your true self? Suho's gaze darkened as his voice hardened. I came here with the thought of saving people, but the more I saw, the more irritated I became. He knelt beside a fallen hunter, one who had died fighting against the criminals, and closed the man's still open eyes, his words steady yet heavy. While everyone should be preparing to fight the apostle of the Iterum, awakeners are wasting strength fighting among themselves. If this continues, we will only become a burden to my father. Suho straightened, resolve burning in his expression. So I will not hide anymore. I will stand openly and unite all forces. His gaze swept over the battlefield as he named them one by one. The bloodlines of monarchs, hunters, villains, artifacts, even magical beasts. I will gather every ounce of power in this world that can resist the Iterum with my own strength, whatever it takes. Baru's wings buzzed with excitement, his voice almost trembling. Are you saying you will make the entire world bend before you, young monarch? Suho cast him a dry look. Comrades, I said comrades. Then his attention returned to the war at hand. Before any of that can happen, I must deal with the villains here and hunt down the countless criminals hidden across the city. To match them, I will need an army of my own. He raised his hand toward the bodies that lay scattered, both prisoners and villains alike. His voice sharpened into a cold command. I will not hesitate any longer. His eyes gleamed as he spoke the word of dominion. Arise. Elsewhere, on the roof of the Ling building, several silhouettes stand in silence, watching the narrow streets below. A camera closes in on the slow turning wheel of a car as it edges its way through a tight alley between two weathered structures, unaware of the threat above. In the next instant, a spiraling wave of fire descends from the rooftop, tearing down the passage and colliding with the vehicle. Flames erupt in a deafening explosion. Metal twists, glass bursts, and fire devours the car entirely. The figures above remain still, their stolen civilian clothes marking them as fugitives. One of them smirks, muttering, "What bad luck." Another laughs grimly, saying, "Who would be driving here now? Guess they know nothing of what is happening in this city." Within the wreckage, a calm voice cuts through the smoke. An older man asks, "Miho, are you hurt?" The woman replies with steady ease, "This is nothing." The man seizes the scorched door of the car, his voice edged with irritation. No point asking for payment from these animals. He wrenches the door free and hurls it skyward. The chunk of metal slices the air toward the rooftop. One prisoner's eyes widen in shock, recognizing too late what it is. Through the blaze, two figures step forward. The tall man carries a stern, unyielding gaze. The woman moves with the bearing of command. He mutters with annoyance, "What a nuisance." Right in the middle of our trip, she narrows her eyes, answering sharply, "At least it happened while we are here." The name of the woman is known across the nation. Beck Miho, Vice Master of the White Tiger Guild. Beside her, the man lets a faint grin surface. "If we are late, your mother will never let me hear the end of it." Then his expression hardens, his tone turning to command. "Let us finish this quickly." He is Beck Yunho, Master of the White Tiger Guild, an S-rank awakener whose presence alone chills the air around him. In almost no time, the escaped prisoners lay scattered across the ground. Unconscious and broken, Beck Yunho stood beside Baek Miho. The guildmaster turned to her and asked, "How many of them managed to get out?" Miho answered with calm precision, "Around 500. Yunho exhaled with a weary sigh. "If we are late, your mother will have our heads for missing the family gathering." Miho's lips curved into a faint smile before she replied, "The chairman of the Hunters Association is already on the way, and he is not coming alone. 3 S-rank hunters will arrive in about 10 minutes. And there was another report? Sung Suho, suspected of distributing star powder, may also be here." Yunho froze, his face hardening at the name, Sung Suho. The sound of it stirred something familiar in his memory. With a grim look, he muttered, "The safety of the people comes before anything else. Let us begin the rescue, Miho." Her eyes gleaming, gave a small smile. "This almost feels like the days when you were still a firefighter." Then Yunho's sharp gaze shifted upward, spotting movement on a nearby rooftop. Shadows, unnatural and twisted, danced against the moonlight. Tension crept into his voice. "Miho, Was there any word of a dungeon break? She shook her head. Nothing like that has been reported. His jaw clenched. Then what is that creature standing over there? The scene shifted to a nearby apartment, where a young woman trembled in terror. Unable to move, a hunter crouched before her, his own body shaking as he pushed her back with weak hands. Run, Mina. His knees buckled and he collapsed, while a group of escaped prisoners watched with cruel laughter. One sneered, so much effort just to protect one girl. Another mocked with a chuckle. What is this? Were you two lovers? How sweet. The girl's eyes widened, her voice cracked with despair. Young Hyun, she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. Enough sniveling, one of the criminals snapped, and then lunged toward her with a wicked grin. Blade aimed to strike her down. Suddenly the air rippled with a dark surge. A command thundered through the silence. Arise. From the fallen hunter's body, a shadow emerged, instantly taking form. It stepped between the girl and the income strike. The prisoner's sword cut straight through the black figure, yet the blow never reached her. The blade halted inches before her face, frozen as if the world itself resisted the attack. The girl gasped, her voice trembling with disbelief. Young-han Oppa. The prisoner staggered back, terror twisting his features. The corpse just stood back up. Behind them, another figure appeared. Sung Soo-ho. His voice calm and heavy with authority. You reacted because you wanted to protect her as well? He raised his hand, shadows stirring at his will. I will grant you the strength. Windows of power unfolded before the new shadow, a belt of a Naga warrior, armor for his shoulders. A Naga warrior sword, the dark hunter donned the equipment in an instant, his body brimming with unnatural force. His aura sharp and dreadful. Without hesitation, he charged, his blade cleaving through flesh. Screams erupted, crimson spraying across the walls. Shadows followed, tearing the prisoners apart. Suho remained still, his gaze cold and watchful. Then he raised his hand again. Arise. One by one, the dead convicts fell, only to rise once more as his shadows, bending instantly to his command. His voice rang with authority. Search the city, find every last criminal. The new army dispersed, vanishing into the night, their numbers spreading like wildfire. Baru's insect-like voice echoed proudly. Just as you foresaw, my liege. The shadows multiply. Suho's eyes gleamed with determination. At this rate, the city will be purged of villains. Baru's wings buzzed with manic joy. Behold the greatness of the shadow authority you possess, my king. Suho chuckled quietly at his servant's enthusiasm. You are right. I once thought this power was meaningless, but it is far from it. Baru shrieked with excitement. At last you accept it, young monarch. Suho's expression softened as he glanced at the girl, weeping on the floor. The hunter who had fallen, now reborn as his shadow, sat silently by her side. Suho whispered to himself, almost reverently, what an incredible power. Baru tilted his head. Are you leaving him behind? Suho nodded. Yes, he will fade tomorrow. Let them have their farewell. Baru's tone grew thoughtful. You seem completely different when you face the innocent compared to when you strike down your enemies. Suho gave a low laugh. Was I really so different before? His expression shifted abruptly, his eyes narrowing, a surge of unease rushing through him. A large force of his shadow soldiers had just been destroyed. Baru's voice dropped into warning. I hope you find him soon. The one who orchestrates this chaos. The battlefield shifted into focus. In the distance, a violent clash erupted, as Kang Tae-sik carved through shadow soldiers with ruthless precision, each strike sharp and deliberate, his expression grim and unyielding. Nearby Hwang Dong-suk shouted in frustration as chaos swirled around him. What the hell are these black beasts? I've never seen monsters like this before. His voice rose again, sharp and commanding. Hey, problem solver, get moving and clear them up already. Kang Tae-sik halted for a moment, his gaze cutting back coldly. His tone edged with irritation. This mess would not exist if we had left sooner. Stop whining. After consuming a star fragment, my power surpasses a rank. I will not lose to these weaklings. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed as the creatures before him bent their knees one after another. Confusion flickered across his face. Why are they kneeling? In the distance, Baru's voice rang with feverish excitement. Young monarch, you struck gold. Suho appeared alongside Baru, their steps steady as they moved in behind Hwang Dong-suk. Suho's gaze locked onto him like a blade. So this bastard must be the one leading the escapees. Dong-suk turned with a mocking smirk. What's a brat like you doing running your mouth with disrespect? He sneered and jabbed a finger toward Suho. So you're the one controlling all of these things. But Suho ignored the provocation, his tone calm and probing. I only want to ask something. Do you know of the apostles of the Iterum as Lee Min-sung did? Dong-suk's expression flickered, yet he quickly raised one hand as if to calm things, while his other hand signaled secretly toward Kang Tae-sik. Whoa, relax a little. If you want to talk, stay back. And yes, I know of the apostle of the Iterum. Tae-sik caught the signal, his mind sharpening. Summoner types always lack physical stats. cut them off from their summons and they are easy prey. Meanwhile, Dong-suk chuckled nervously. Those apostles of Itarum are basically cult fanatics. Suho stepped closer, unshaken. At that exact instant, Tazik burst forward at full speed, his blade aimed for Suho. Yet Suho's movements were faster, his body closing the distance in an instant until he stood before Dong-suk. Tae-sik froze, sweat running down his brow. How did he move like that? Dong-suk's face paled as Suho gripped his shoulder firmly, his eyes shadowed with fury. So you are not tied to the Itarum. Then explain. How did you acquire the star fragments? Why did you attack this city? His voice cut sharper than steel. Dong-suk's mind spun in panic. This kitty is no ordinary summoner. Desperation twisted his face as he blurted, "If you harm me, my younger brother will not forgive it." Before he could finish, Suho's hand pressed harder. The bone cracked beneath his grip. The ground beneath Dong-suk splintered as his knees hit the dirt. Suho's voice was ice. "I do not care if your brother is an S rank, you will answer me." Groaning in pain, Dong-suk stammered, my brother gave me the star fragments. I know nothing else." Suho's gaze hardened. "Then why attack the people here?" Dong-suk gasped through ragged breaths. "There was no reason. I just wanted to see them obey me. It was amusing." Suho's fury flared, his words laced with venom. "So you slaughtered innocents for your entertainment." Dong-suk raised his trembling hands in surrender, begging, "I will call off the others, I swear, just spare me." His gaze snapped toward Tae-sik. "Problem solver. What are you waiting for? Help me." But Kang Tae-sik remained frozen, cold sweat soaking his back. His mind repeating one truth. He is dangerous. If I stay, I will die. I have to run even if I abandon Dong-suk. Suddenly a voice echoed in his head. That will not be so easy. Tae-sik's eyes widened in shock. What is this? High above the city, a helicopter floated through the night. Park Do-jin smirked as his telepathic voice seeped into Tae-sik's mind. Before the S ranks arrive, I want to see the full extent of Sung Suho's strength. Give in to your impulse, Kang Tae-sik. At that command, a vile surge of energy flooded his body, his strength amplifying. His teeth clenched as he activated his skill. His form vanished from sight, then reappeared behind Suho, his strike tearing forward. But Suho's instinct saved him. He shifted just enough to evade. The redirected blow carved instead through Dong-suk, still kneeling helpless on the ground. Wait, no. Blood exploded as Tae-sik's attack ripped him apart, his body collapsing lifeless. Suho's expression darkened as Baru's frantic voice echoed, "Young monarch, I felt it the energy of an apostle of the Itarim." Suho's fists clenched, his realization sharp. He is manipulating those who consumed the fragments. His eyes burned with renewed resolve as he turned back, voice steady and dangerous. "Good, because I had something to say to you anyway." Before him, 3 faithful shadow soldiers knelt in silent loyalty. As Kang Tae-sik, under the control of the Apostle of Itarim, revealed a cruel smirk and unleashed his blade. With a single strike, the shadows were shattered, and his attacks came one after another. Yet Suho stood unmoving, calm and steady. Only when the blade grazed his cheek did a thin line of blood appear. And in his mind, he acknowledged the assassin-like stealth skill his enemy carried. Thanks to his own sensing skill, he could faintly catch the sound of footsteps. Yet all he could do was dodge, unable to counter. Above them, the Apostle of Itarim watched from a helicopter with sharp eyes, noting that Kang Tae-sik's strength already rivaled an upper A rank, while Suho still could not overcome him with ease. Hearing Suho call out, he did not respond, simply listening in silence. Suho's tone hardened as he confessed that he had long hidden his existence, fearing the risk if discovered. Yet he wondered why a being from beyond the stars would also remain concealed, and instead manipulate humans from the shadows. If the Apostle also stayed hidden, then perhaps he too had reasons of his own. But now, since the incident with Lee Min-seong, he had begun revealing himself piece by piece, which could only mean he was preparing something. Perhaps he was, like Suho, a being that continued to grow. Those words narrowed the Apostle's gaze, as Suho recalled his broken shadows and then declared that he would no longer hide, and neither should his enemy. His shadows surged forward, binding Kang Tae-sik, as Suho appeared before him with blinding speed, driving shadow blades into his body, piercing his shoulders and legs, until he collapsed, defeated. Calmly, Suho stepped forth. And at that moment, a system window appeared, declaring level up. Suho raised his head, his voice firm, as he declared it was time to fight. Far away, the Apostle felt the backlash, blood trailing from his eye, as Lim Tae-gyu noticed in shock. Yet the Apostle himself turned away, hiding a small smile as he softly muttered Suho's name. Back at the battlefield, Suho extended his hand, commanding rise, and with blazing eyes, he condemned the masterminds of the carnage, demanding they answer for countless lives lost. Before declaring they would now serve at his side, dark energy swirled as he invoked shadow creation, and the fallen screamed, twisting as their forms reshaped into something unfamiliar. When Suho opened his eyes, he found not soldiers but equipment, born from the shadows themselves, a suit of armor and a ring. Astonished, he inspected the ring and discovered it was hero grade, the first he had ever seen. The system revealed its effects, the ability to conceal the wearer's form and erase their presence. And further messages appeared, announcing that the skill shadow item creation had advanced, unlocking hero-grade creation and prompting him to name the item. Shock struck Suho as he remembered the hidden ability of the shadow item contract, which allowed a wielder to name a hero-grade or higher shadow item, turning it into a growth weapon that only its creator could use, increasing its power by 30%. Raising his hand, he calmly spoke the name Kira. The ring pulsed as system windows flooded his sight, confirming the creation of a manual for shadow item naming, explaining that such weapons grew stronger with experience, were eternally bound to their master, and even carried over the stats they once held as shadow soldiers. The ring reshaped into a sleek black band, glowing faintly with power, displaying its details as Kira, the Shadow Ring, Level 1, Hero Grade, boosting agility, strength, vitality, and perception, while granting stealth at the cost of mana. Slipping it onto his finger, Suho allowed a faint smile as he felt the strength coursing through him. Realizing the ring had leveled up already, and with excitement burning, he thought if he could obtain more items like this, his growth would accelerate, and his strength would climb at an even faster pace. He lifted his eyes toward the sky, resolve burning brighter in his gaze. With this new power, he felt certain he could reach his father sooner. The moment shifted violently as a colossal white claw shredded through his shadows. 5 of his soldiers were annihilated in an instant, their forms scattering with no resistance. Suho's eyes narrowed as his mind tightened. What kind of creature could do that? Baru's voice resonated inside him. What troubles you, little lord? Suho answered quickly. Something is coming. It is cutting through every shadow soldier I have. The ground rumbled beneath him as he steadied himself. From the broken building ahead, the presence drew closer, until suddenly the beast revealed itself. A towering white figure bursting outward and soaring through the air before landing with earth-shaking force. Its claws cleaved down another soldier before it raised its head to speak. I saw the black pillar rise, so I came here. Then its golden eyes locked on Suho, sharp and piercing. A hunter? What are you? Suho's heart stumbled at the sound, disbelief flooding his thoughts. It can talk. A beast that speaks. The creature let out a low growl and corrected him. I am no mere beast. I am Baek Yunho, master of the White Tiger Guild. Suho's thoughts raced. So this was the infamous guild leader. An S rank with the rare ability to transform. Baek Yunho's gaze grew keener as he inhaled Suho's presence. You smell of blood. What exactly are you? Suho stood unshaken and answered firmly, I am a hunter. I came here to save lives. Baek Yunho's voice rumbled low. Your name, Sung Suho. He replied without hesitation. I know the association hunts me, but I swear I am not guilty. Yunho's laughter erupted suddenly, deep and mocking. So you are that one. Bold to admit it with no fear. His tone hardened. You were accused of spreading stardust. Our own guild lost comrades to that cursed drug. One massive claw lifted, the sharpened nail brushing dangerously at Suho's throat. If you claim innocence, how will you prove it? Suho moved calmly, pushing the claw aside with no fear. Can we put that aside for now? We are short on people, and I am glad an S-rank hunter came. Let us save others first. Yunho's brow furrowed with doubt. Do you even understand the situation you are in? Yet Suho did not falter. Hunters exist to protect. Lives come before anything else. Those words struck deep into Yunho, pulling forth an old memory. Long ago another hunter had told him, hesitate for even a moment and someone who could have been saved will be lost. There is no time for long choices. We act first, then justify the decision after. That is the creed of a rescue team. Drag back to the present. Yunho muttered quietly, wait. That name. With a swift motion, he seized Suho by both arms and lifted him off the ground as if he weighed nothing. His eyes widened in sudden recognition. You cannot be. You are the grandson the captain always spoke of with pride. His name was Sung Suho. The beastly features faded away, his body shifting back to its human form. Baek Yunho smiled at last, his tone filled with warmth. So it is true. You are Captain Sung Il-won's grandson. Scene shifts. On a tense bridge, 2 soldiers stood at a barricade, their rifles clutched tight, their eyes darting nervously across the empty streets. One of them broke the silence, his voice shaky. Squad leader, can we really handle those rampaging awakened on our own? I heard bullets don't even work against them. His partner exhaled heavily. Well, orders are orders. What choice do we have? The first soldier, still uneasy, muttered, but don't you think the whole city feels off lately? His comrade nodded faintly. Yeah, it's like the air itself has turned chaotic. The scene shifted in a flash. Baek Yunho stood amidst a storm of carnage, His claws ripped through prisoners with merciless ease, bodies torn apart like fragile paper. Not far away, Suho carved his own path through the enemy, his shadow-fueled power spreading across the battlefield, blood soaking into the ground. As the two hunters unleashed devastation, their auras clashing with violent intensity, Baek Yoonho glanced toward Suho, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Impressive for someone with a summoning-type ability. No doubt you carry Captain Sung Il-hwan's pride, Suho thought to himself with quiet surprise. So this man once stood as my grandfather's junior, back when they were firefighters, meeting Yoonho's gaze. He replied aloud, "You're incredible yourself, Guildmaster Baek. S-rank hunters truly are on another level." Yoonho let out a booming laugh. Just call me uncle." The two advanced through the sea of fallen bodies. Step after heavy step, Suho spoke as they moved. "For now, I've been loudly tearing this place apart as you ordered, but won't the villains just scatter and hide because of it?" Yoonho smirked, shaking his head. "You sound like a rookie in the rescue squad." Suho frowned, quietly thinking, "But I'm not even part of them." Yoonho's tone grew firm. "Our role is not to capture villains, it's to save people." He suddenly let out a deafening roar, his aura exploding outward like a storm, wind and pressure crashing in every direction. As the energy settled, he explained, "The more presence we show, the less the villains can act freely. That way the civilians remain safer." Suho's eyes widened, shaken as he realized Yoonho was right. He had been focused only on defeating enemies. But this was what true leadership meant. Guiding and protecting all lives within reach, a guildmaster had to think bigger than victory. Yoonho then turned with a mischievous grin. "Why don't we finish the hunt together?" As they continued walking, Yoonho suddenly asked, "Suho, do you have a girlfriend?" Caught off guard, Suho blinked and replied, "No." Yoonho burst into hearty laughter, clapping his hands. "Excellent. My daughter just happens to be single. This could be a chance for our families to unite through Captain Sung Il-hwan." Suho's eyes widened in alarm, shouting, "What?" The battlefield faded upward to the skies above. A helicopter roared across the clouds, its blades chopping the air. Inside, Association Chairman Jin-chul held a phone, his calm but steady voice speaking, "Yes. Hunter Baek Miho, it has been confirmed." The perspective shifted to Baek Miho, standing atop a tall building, her hair whipping in the wind. As she raised a hand to signal the chopper, Woo Jin-chul's voice continued, "You did well. You managed to evacuate both the hunters and the civilians." Baek Miho answered modestly, "I only fulfilled my duty as a hunter." Jin-chul narrowed his eyes, however, spotting something below. "I see black figures moving with the villains, committing acts of terror. Are those beasts?" Baek Miho frowned, scanning the chaos. "I cannot say for certain. It is too difficult to judge from here." Inside the helicopter, another figure rose, Lim Taegyu, Korea's strongest archer, his voice sharp and cold. "Then I suppose it is fine if I erase them all." Before anyone could stop him, he strode to the open door, drawing his bow. "I will annihilate them together with the villains." With that, he leapt out into the sky. Jinchul shouted in alarm, "Wait, Hunter Lim Taegyu," but it was already too late. The chairman and Park Dojin could only watch as Taegyu plummeted through the clouds, his aura flaring. He spread his senses across the battlefield, his sharp eyes locking onto every shadow soldier scattered through the city. Targets illuminated one after another until he had marked them all. Midair, he pulled back the string, power condensing as countless arrows materialized behind him. With a single release, the arrows launched in unison, streaking through the heavens like a meteor shower. The city below was thrown into chaos, as Suho's shadow soldiers were pierced, one after another, each vanishing instantly beneath the rain of arrows. Suho stiffened suddenly as a menacing aura rippled from afar, his gaze sharpening, his lips parting with a low murmur. "Is that?" Baek Yoonho caught the change and answered with calm assurance, "Do not be alarmed. He is on our side. The S-rank hunters from the association have arrived as reinforcements." Hearing those words, Suho allowed himself a brief smile. "That is good. With them here, the villains will have no room to act freely in the city." Yet before the moment could settle, a piercing gaze found him. High above, Lim Taegyu's eyes glowed with wrath, his voice carrying venom. "I found you, Sung Suho." His pupils narrowed as his hatred poured out. "If only you had not spread that cursed star powder." Without pause, he raised his bow and loosed an arrow. The deadly strike whistled through the sky straight towards Suho. Though Suho sensed it closing in, he did not move. But before it could reach him, Baek Yoonho stepped forward, his hand clamping down and seizing the arrow barehanded, strength alone stopping the lethal shot. Lim Taegyu descended then, landing lightly upon a nearby roof, leaping rooftop to rooftop until he reached the ground before them. His glare burned at Yoonho. Hunter Baek Yoonho, stand beside a criminal. The arrow in Yoonho's hand dispersed into light, showing it had never been physical. Yoonho raised his hand to de-escalate. "There is a misunderstanding. Let us discuss this properly." But Taegyu's tone cut like steel. There was a chance to talk. He ignored the summons, fled from the association. Sung Suho is no hero. He is a villain. Yoonho's eyes narrowed, voice tight frustration. Calling him villain out of nothing. I know you're shaken because of Lee Min-sung, but Suho has been saving lives. His words halted as an arrow streaked past his face, so close it burned the air. Taegyu's suspicion dripped from his words. Suho, what is your connection to Baek Yoonho? Silence gripped the air. Yoonho did not answer. Instead, his aura burst outward, his frame shifting as muscle swelled and fur sprouted. With a roar, he took his tiger form. His voice thundered. It seems words will not reach you. I will calm you myself. His overwhelming presence clashed with Taegyu's. The street quaked beneath their collision, shockwaves ripping outward and whipping the wind around Suho. He braced himself, watching in disbelief. Those two will truly fight. What should I do? Their opposing energies ignited the air itself, a ring of flame encircling them as if trapping them within. Before the tension could erupt further, figures strode through the fire. Choi Jong-in, Woo Jin-chul, Baek Mi-ho, and Park Do-jin appeared. Jong-in's commanding voice rang out. All of you calm down. What sense is there in hunters battling one another in the middle of crisis? Suho's eyes widened in awe. So many S ranks, even the association chairman himself. Yoonho exhaled in relief, lowering his stance slightly. Finally, I can explain. Suho is the grandson of the captain to whom I owe my life. I will vouch for him. The air grew heavier as Jong-in, Jin-chul, and Mi-ho stepped forward. Yoonho expected their support, yet they stood aligned beside Lim Taegyu. Mi-ho's eyes hardened on her father, her voice sharp. Just because he is related to someone you respected, you know that is not proof of anything. Yoonho's eyes went wide. Mi-ho. Then Jong-in added coldly, I side with Lim Taegyu. A fugitive who betrayed our trust must be restrained. Disbelief carved across Yoonho's face. Even you, Hunter Choi Jong-in. Park Do-jin kept still, his face unreadable. Lim Taegyu stepped ahead, his glare unwavering. Looks like everyone agrees with me. Will you still defend a criminal because of your emotions? His killing intent poured outward, his words harsh. Back away, Baek Yoonho. If you refuse, I will crush you here. Yoonho's eyes flicked towards Suho briefly, his voice quieter. It would still be better to resolve this in words. Then at last, Woo Jin-chul moved. Walking with measured steps, his presence steady, his voice cut through the fire. I too believe there should be a conversation. The others froze in shock. Mi-ho's expression darkened. Jong-in's brows furrowed. Even Lim Taegyu faltered, unable to hide his disbelief. Jin-chul came to stand at Suho's side, his gaze unwavering, his tone firm but not hostile. Hunter sung, Can you prove your innocence? Within Chairman Jin-chul's mind, questions raged like thunder. Why did my past life return to me? Was it because Sung Jin-woo already foresaw this day? Did he know he would one day depart this world, leaving only chaos in his wake? The cataclysm drawing near, the great war waiting beyond the horizon, and above all for Suho, who would be forced to shoulder the fight alone. With that burden pressing against his heart, Jin-chul turned toward the young hunter, his voice steady yet firm. Suho, can you prove your innocence? Suho hesitated, his lips parting with a faint breath as if to answer, but the words caught. Before he could speak, Choi Jong-in interjected sharply, his voice cutting with authority. Chairman, this is not the place for debate. Sung Suho has already fled once. Whether his reasons were noble or not, he must still be accountable for his actions. Jin-chul's eyes narrowed a fraction. Inwardly, he conceded grimly that Choi Jong-in stood as his most formidable obstacle here. Yet Jong-in pressed harder, his words like knives. He forged his registration. He appeared wherever star powder surfaced, and most damning of all, he killed Lee Min-sung. The weight of the accusation crashed down upon Suho. His chest tightened, his breath shuddered, and his eyes widened in disbelief at the cold bluntness of it. Then Lim Taegyu's voice rang sharp and final. Everything is clear, with the evidence set forth. Suho's punishment is obvious. He must be arrested immediately. Jin-chul glanced once more at Suho, his expression calm, though his mind wrestled. On paper, arresting him is logical. Yet has he not risked his life time and again? Is there not reason behind every action? Drawing resolve, Jin-chul faced Jong-in and Taegyu. His tone hardened. Suho was first to reach the scene. He risked himself to save the civilians. Condemning him now would be unjust. Jong-in's hand lifted to his glasses, adjusting them slowly as his keen gaze locked on Jin-chul. Disbelief burned in his thoughts. I had known Chairman Jin-chul for years, yet never once has he stood so firmly on the wrong side. Can he not see? Lim Taegyu is already on edge, ready to strike. Or perhaps there is something deeper. Could it be the chairman is truly shielding Sung Suho? Even if it means opposing the Reaper Guild. The air between them grew unbearably tense every second, pulling toward an inevitable clash. Then Suho's voice broke through. Stop. There is no need for you to fight. At once, a surge of black aura erupted from him, violent and vast, spreading outward like a storm. The gathered hunters froze, eyes widening at the sight. With unwavering calm, Suho declared, "I will prove my innocence, though my method may not be gentle." Jinchul's face blanched and his voice rang out in alarm. "Wait, Suho." But it was already beyond reach. Taegyu's bow was drawn, his jaw set with fury. "Did you think I would allow another escape?" The string snapped, the arrow roared forward, piercing straight into Suho's chest. Yoonho's cry broke the air, his voice torn with horror. Before anyone could act, Suho's shadows erupted, lashing forth in violent retaliation. A spear of darkness tore through Taegyu's abdomen. The archer staggered, frozen in shock, as his eyes dropped to the jagged shadow arrow buried deep in his body. Then it struck him. A torrent of memories cascaded through his mind, visions of another life where he fought beside Jinwoo, of wars waged against otherworldly beings, of bonds forged through fire and sacrifice. His knees buckled as he collapsed, trembling, tears burning his eyes as the forgotten past consumed him. Voices rang in the background, shouting his name. Meanwhile, Suho swayed, blood flowing freely from the arrow embedded in his chest. Baru's voice echoed desperately from the shadows. "Young monarch, do you truly intend to awaken their memories as well?" Suho's vision blurred, but his thoughts cut sharp. "If hunters who once lived through my father's age remember their truth, then they will finally hear me. They will understand. And for that to happen, Choi Jong-in must awaken too." Teeth clenched as he launched upward into the air with explosive force. Jong-in's eyes widened in shock as Suho rose above him, fists drawn back, ready to strike. Yet the seasoned hunter reacted in an instant. His hand ignited with blazing energy, and a wall of fire erupted into a swirling inferno that swallowed Suho whole. Yoonho's horrified cry tore through the battlefield, calling Suho's name. From within the flames, Jong-in's cold voice echoed, reckless beyond belief. Lim Taegyu was right. He is far too dangerous. But then his words faltered. His pupils shrank as the unthinkable unfolded. Suho burst through the sea of fire, scorched and bleeding, but unyielding. His desperate thought echoed inward. Please let this reach him. As his fist drew closer, two figures intercepted. Baek Miho and Park Dojin struck him from both sides, their kicks slamming into his ribs with brutal force. Blood burst from his mouth as the blow rattled his body. Yet even as he staggered, his shadows had already moved. A shard of darkness shot forward, embedding itself deep into Jong-in's chest. The fire mage froze, his body trembling as a flood of memories crashed into him. Visions of another life, of fighting beside Sung Jinwoo, of wars that tore the sky, of bonds forged in pain and sacrifice. Knees buckled, he dropped to the ground, hands shaking as tears slid down his face. Miho's shocked voice called for him, while Suho collapsed, bleeding onto the dirt, one hand clutching the wound in his chest. His voice low but steady. "I have done all I can. Now I can only wait." Miho cursed him and prepared to strike. But before she could, Taegyu staggered upright, clutching his abdomen, tears streaming as he muttered, "What is this? A skill? No. It feels like something I had once known and forgotten." Jong-in too rose, his voice quivering. "I cannot believe it. I carried such memories and never knew. How absurd." Tears fell freely as he turned toward Suho. "Speak to me. What did you do to us?" Suho met his gaze steady despite his pain. "What a relief. At last we can speak. Those are not illusions. They are the fragments of your lives before the world was reset." Jong-in's eyes narrowed sharply. "Reset." Suho answered firmly. "This world was once wiped clean and restored. That reset is the reason peace lasted until the cataclysm arrived." Jong-in pressed further. "Then this reset. It ties to Sung Jinwoo, does it not?" Suho allowed a faint smile. "The moment your memories returned, you connected it to my father. Truly remarkable hunter Choi Jong-in." His voice grew heavy with pride and sorrow. "I know little of my father beyond what I have witnessed. He carried everything alone. Even now he fights in the void, holding back an invasion from beyond the stars. I have battled the infiltrators to lighten his burden." Taegyu clenched his fists, his heart swaying. The words sound unbelievable, yet deep within, I understand them. Jong-in trembled as the memories swelled. "If what I see is true, then Suho's claims cannot be dismissed." At that moment, Chairman Jinchul stepped forward, his voice steady. "Everything he has said is truth. I too retain memories of my past life. They are the reason I built the association so swiftly when the cataclysm began. Let us hear him out." With the tension broken, Suho began to explain. He spoke of the outer gods known as Iterum, of their apostle now hidden on Earth, of the stimulant called star powder spread to weaken humanity. Jong-in's face grew grave as he muttered, "Then every incident we have faced." Taegyu finished his thought. "They were the work of these Iterum." Suho nodded. "Yes, all of it stems from the apostle." Taegyu clenched tighter. "Then Lee Min-seong's death too." Suho meanwhile drank a potion. Steadying himself, Jinchul demanded, "Why keep silent until now?" Suho lowered his eyes. "If the apostle learned of me, I would be my father's weakness. I stayed hidden until I grew strong enough." Jinchul's eyes narrowed. Then you two can grow by leveling, like Jinwoo. Suho replied without pause. Yes. The revelation sent shock through Jungin, yet soon a smile touched his lips. He grasped Suho's hand and said, "Did you know Cha Hain was stood among the Hunters Guild?" Suho's eyes widened with joy. "Mother? You mean my mother was a hunter?" His heart leapt with warmth as he smiled for the first time in a long while, yet not all shared in the moment. Dojin's gaze darkened. Within his thoughts he seethed, "Reckless Suho, daring to bare himself without knowing my true face. Had I been stronger, this would have cost you everything." He's fearless, charging forward without hesitation. Such a force could shape the coming war. I cannot allow it. The next fragment must appear soon. Yoonho and Miho, who had not awakened their memories, stood aside, lost. Yoonho scratched his head, muttering, "Well, at least the misunderstanding cleared, but I honestly do not follow what any of this means." Suho looked toward them calmly. "It must be confusing without context. Then perhaps it is time I awaken the memories of the rest." His words made Dojin stiffen, fear glinting in his eyes. For if Suho went further, his secret as the apostle would be revealed. Suho stood at the center of the hunters, his calm presence drawing every gaze to him. A faint curve touched his lips as he spoke, his tone steady and commanding. "Before moving forward, it would be wise to confirm the memories of everyone here. Don't you agree?" The atmosphere shifted as a ripple of unease ran through the group. From the depths of his shadow, Suho summoned an item, a black key that shimmered ominously, its surface faintly glowing with darkness. He lifted it, his expression unreadable. "It's time," he said simply. "The memories of the world that came before, we should all reclaim them." Yoonho's brow lifted, amusement flickering in his eyes. "Memories of a previous world, huh? No, that does sound interesting." He gave a low chuckle, but before he could step forward, his daughter Miho blocked his path. Her body was tense, her voice edged with urgency. "Father, you can't just accept this. Ever since the cataclysm, nothing has made sense. But something like this? It's too dangerous." Yoonho, however, brushed past her concern without hesitation. His gaze never wavered as he approached Suho. With a firm hand, he pressed his palm over Suho's, closing around the key. His voice rang out with conviction. "I trust Sung Suho." The artifact pulsed, and suddenly, shadows burst outward, writhing and coiling around the two men. The air itself grew heavy, pressing down on the hunters as they froze, unable to look away. "Father." Miho's voice cracked, panic bleeding through. "Stop rushing in without thinking." Even the apostle, watching silently from the side, felt his chest tighten. His golden eyes glimmered warily as he studied the violent surge of shadows. When the darkness finally receded, Suho lowered the key. Yoonho staggered back, his whole body trembling, his breaths uneven. Tears streaked down his face as the weight of resurfaced memories crushed into him. And yet he smiled, a fragile, bittersweet expression. "It's so strange," he whispered, voice breaking. "To feel warmth from memories I thought were gone forever." Nearby, Lim Taegyu and Choi Jongin exchanged uneasy glances. Neither spoke. Miho, however, stood frozen, her face pale, her lips parting soundlessly. She wanted to deny what she was seeing, but her father's shaking form left no room for disbelief. At the edge of the circle, the apostle's thoughts churned. "This isn't good. If the key really restores what once was, then my existence will be exposed. I'm not of this world. It won't work on me. If they test it, suspicion will fall immediately. Do I abandon everything and wage war now? No. With my current strength, even an army of followers would burn out like the prison riot. I must be careful." Miho's voice cut through his thoughts. She took a hesitant step towards Suho, fists clenched, her chin raised with newfound resolve. "Then, let me try. Ease it on me." Suho nodded. Seconds dragged by before she blinked rapidly and pressed a hand to her forehead. "Nothing," she muttered flatly. "No memories. Are you sure this thing even works?" The apostle's eyes widened, hope sparking for the first time that night. "Failed. This could be my opening." Suho frowned, scratching his head in uncharacteristic hesitation. "That's unusual. By now your memories should have surfaced." From the shadows, Baru stepped forward. "My king, it is possible that some individuals like this young woman cannot access memories of the previous world at all." Miho's eyes flicked toward him. She pointed at the insect-like figure with a smirk. "And what exactly is this weak-looking bug?" Baru's compound eyes flared crimson with anger. His mandibles clicked sharply. "Weak? How dare you? I could crush you where you stand." Before the tension escalated further, Suho raised a hand, his voice firm and commanding. "Baru, finish your explanation." The ant general gritted his teeth, temper still simmering, but he obeyed. "The previous world existed 20 years ago, when mana still flowed freely. If you think of the world as it was without mana back then, it's no wonder there are discrepancies today. Simply put," his eyes glimmered faintly, "this young woman was not born in that world." Miho's eyes went wide, disbelief choking her voice. "I wasn't born?" Suho's expression darkened as he glanced down at the shadow key in his hand. This was the same phenomenon he had witnessed with Park Dojin, the apostle masked in humanity. Nothing had happened. The apostle himself smirked, stepping lightly out of the spotlight. It seems I too cannot access memories of that world. Suho's brows knitted tightly. Then Hunter Park Dojin never existed in the previous world either. Miho's voice trembled, rising in a mixture of fear and anger. Father, does that mean I truly didn't exist back then? Yunho moved to calm her, but the two soon fell into their familiar, bickering rhythm. The warmth of ordinary father-daughter exchange breaking through the tense air. Chairman Jinchul approached Suho, his movements deliberate, his tone serene. Don't you think this is remarkable? Suho blinked, confusion evident. Remarkable? What do you mean? The chairman's gaze softened. This is the world that Hunter Sung Jin-woo chose. Lives that were once erased, lives that never should have existed, are alive now. Isn't that worth gratitude? Suho's eyes swept over the hunters. On one side, Choi Jong-in and Lim Tae-gyu exchanged intense conversation, quietly comparing memories restored by the shadow key. On the other, Baek and Miho continued their playful quarrel. A realization dawned. This was what his father had wanted. A world where erased lives could exist again. After a brief pause, Suho stepped forward. His voice rang out, steady and unwavering. If we allow the outer gods to invade, this world will be destroyed. I ask each of you, lend me your strength. The scene shifted abruptly, replaced by the calm, measured voice of a news anchor. The prison break that shook the nation has finally been contained. Less than 1% of escapees remain unidentified. Thanks to the rapid response of the Hunter Association, the threat has been neutralized. She shuffled papers, lowering her voice slightly as a recording played on screen. Eyewitnesses report that, had it not been for the appearance of a black human-shaped figure, casualties would have been much higher. It has now been confirmed that the figure was not a monster but the skill of a hunter, specifically A-rank hunter Sung Suho. Arriving at the scene faster than anyone else, he intervened to protect civilians, experiencing a sudden reawakening at the moment of crisis. Far away, a man watched intently, the glow of the television reflecting in his eyes. Hwang Dong-su's jaw clenched, teeth grinding audibly. Rage twisted his face as the word hero echoed from the broadcast. Sung Suho, he hissed, voice thick with venom. I'm coming for you. Back among the hunters, the broadcast flickered across a small television. Suho raised an eyebrow, his tone incredulous. Reawakening? What nonsense is this? Chairman Jinchul answered with calm certainty. We prepared for this and released it deliberately. Reawakenings are rare but not impossible. The public will understand. Choi Jong-in, adjusting his glasses, let out a weary sigh. I no longer wish to hide. Surely you aren't planning to declare yourself as a growth hunter publicly? A being that defies natural law invites only chaos. People judge based on fear, and a regular's existence will breed nothing but resentment. Suho's jaw tightened, tension settling across his features. But Choi Jong-in didn't waver. Sung Suho, Choi began. You set 3 goals for yourself, correct? First, your own growth, to become strong enough to fight alongside your father. Second, to gather hunters capable of standing against the outer gods. This world must unite against them. And third, his voice dipped, heavy with gravity, to take down the apostle of the Iterim hiding among us. Suho's fingers clenched around the edge of the table, his violet eyes narrowing with quiet fire. Once these objectives are complete, I will join my father, who even now fights alone against the forces of the outer space. Steam curled from Choi's cup as he lifted it. His gaze stayed locked on Suho. If you intend to rally the strength of this world, passion alone will not suffice. You must consider how others perceive you. Every word, every action, each will influence the hearts of those around you. Success depends on more than just power. Suho froze, Choi's words echoing in his mind. He's right. I can't argue with that. He raised his head, eyes meeting Choi's. Are you offering to help me then? Before Choi could reply, Baek Yoonho's hand slammed onto the table. Of course, Yoonho said, pride swelling in his chest. You are the grandson of Captain Sung Il-won and the son of Sung Jin-woo, the very blood of humanity's protectors. But more than that, it is your deeds that inspire me. From this moment onward, the White Tiger Guild will stand with you. Choi adjusted his glasses, voice steady but resolute. Even Jinwoo himself struggled against the Iterim. I cannot claim to know how much I can contribute, but I will not stand idle while the earth falls. You have the support of the Hunters Guild as well. Woo Jinchul, silent until now, clenched his fists at his sides. With Baek and Choi's allegiance secured, all eyes shifted to Lim Tae-gyu of the Reapers Guild. Lim remained seated, arms crossed, face unreadable. Tell me, Lim said, his voice cold, was it truly you who killed Lee Min-sung? Baek's temper flared instantly. Why bring this up again? He snapped. Suho lifted a hand, calm but commanding, halting the argument. Yes, I did it. Lim's gaze sharpened, unrelenting. Explain, what was happening to him? Suho's voice dropped, steady and unwavering. He was addicted to stardust. And worse, possessed by the apostle of the Iterum. And why did you approach him? Suho replied, I confirmed that he was cooperating with the Iterum. I needed information. Lim lowered his gaze, thoughts heavy. I already know you bear no blame, Suho. So why am I even asking these questions? Suho's tone cut through the silence. Perhaps, Hunter Lim, what you truly wish to know is his final moments. Lim's eyes widened, caught off guard. Suho spoke quietly, with a weight that hung in the air. At the very end, Lee Min-sung was smiling. Lim's expression twisted, disbelief etched across his features. Smiling? Yes, Suho affirmed, unwavering. I do not know if it was exhilaration or the emptiness of letting go, but it was bitter. Unmistakably so. One thing is clear, he never lost himself, even until the very end. I must admit, that man left a mark on me. Lim closed his eyes, hand covering part of his face, letting out a long, measured sigh. Lee Min-sung, ever the same selfish egotist. Yet the Grim Reaper Guild will cooperate with you, Suho. Woo Jin-chul's lips curved in the faintest smile. One by one, the three great guilds had pledged their support. Not for Suho's lineage, but for the sincerity that radiated from him. Though he was not Sung Jin-woo, there was something in him reminiscent of those days when hunters stood united, fierce and unyielding. Suho straightened, throat tight, voice steady as he faced the room. Then allow me to explain the plan moving forward. First, the hunters froze, eyes wide as Suho revealed the first step of his strategy. Shock rippled across the room. This was beyond anything they had anticipated. Deep within the shadow dungeon, the air was heavy with heat and strain. Suho's sweat poured in streams, his body trembling beneath the crushing weight of Amit perched on his shoulders, like a mountain forged into flesh. Amit's voice cut through the silence, firm, relentless. 98, 99, 100. Suho's legs buckled, his muscles screaming, the hard ground cracking under his stance. He held on, refusing to collapse until the very last count. When Amit finally reached the end, Suho roared, a guttural primal cry. It was the sound of raw willpower colliding with unbearable strain. Then, a metallic chime rang out. System notification. Preparations for growth? Finished. Another window immediately followed. Rewards available. Collect now. His strength drained, Suho dropped to the floor, chest heaving, sweat pooling beneath him. Essel and Gray rushed to his side, alarm written all over their faces. Amit, however, stood tall, his pride hidden beneath discipline. At first, you could not even withstand the basics. But now you complete them on your own. The edge of his tone softened. A rare acknowledgement. Suho forced himself upright, hands shaking as he opened the system shop. His words came ragged between gasps. Honestly, my body feels wrong if I don't do this training now. Heavy, uncomfortable. He grabbed a potion, downed it in one gulp. The cool liquid rushed through him, soothing the fire in his muscles. A tired but genuine smile crept onto his lips. Good work, Emmett. Essel's crimson eyes lingered on him, narrowing in thought. This young monarch. He's changed. Not just in strength or mana, but in presence. He walks like his father once did. Fully healed, Suho rolled his shoulders, the tension fading. A grin tugged at his mouth as he rose. Well, I've got things to do outside. See you. Essil and Gray both froze. You're leaving? Already? Suho's smile never wavered. His tone, however, was resolute. From now on, I'll be busier than ever. I plan to remove a field-type dungeon. His mind replayed the meeting from the day before. To stop more star powder factories, I asked the Hunters Association to work with me. Together, we'll clear every field dungeon across Korea. Essel's eyes widened. And their answer? Suho admitted. They said the guilds would object. Shrugging lightly. So, I gave them a condition. In exchange, they promised cooperation. A gate swirled open beside him, its black energy pulsing. Suho gave a small wave. Now, it's on me to fulfill that condition. Essel stepped forward eagerly. Then let me join you. You'll call for us, won't you? For a heartbeat, her hopes soared. She imagined herself fighting beside him. But Suho's last words shattered that hope in an instant. I'll call when I need you. The gate sealed shut, leaving Amit, Essil, and Gray staring at the empty space, shock freezing their expressions. The scene shifted. D-rank field dungeon. Kachisan field. Miho's voice sliced through the mountain air, sharp with contempt. Hey, what are our guild masters thinking? Handing every field dungeon over to one hunter? Do they realize what that means for guild profits? From behind, Hunter Sung Ki-hoon asked, curious. And who even is this Suho? Miho's glare sharpened, her voice colder still. They didn't even send A ranks, or S ranks, to clear this. Just dragged us along to fill empty spots. Cahoon only smirked, his eyes glittering with intrigue. Still, a hunter who can strike mud and haul all alone? Aren't you at least a little curious? Itch. Miho clicked her tongue, hiding the storm inside. Exaggerations. Lies. And yet, even father believes these so-called memories of the past world. How could he trust so easily? Ki-hoon's thoughts, however, were sharper. A hunter who can level up? Let's see if Choi Jong-in's words hold any truth. At a distance, the apostle stood silently. His golden eyes narrowed, his presence heavy, saying nothing, yet speaking volumes. Then a deafening roar tore across the mountainside. The ground buckled beneath their feet. Miho's eyes went wide. An earthquake? Before she could finish the thought, Ki-hoon muttered almost to himself, "It hasn't even been an hour since he entered." Their skepticism shattered moment later. From the dungeon's gaping entrance, Suho appeared. Calm, composed, unshakable. Behind him, his shadow soldiers marched in perfect formation, their presence oppressive and suffocating. Like an army conjured straight from the abyss, Suho wiped his sweat-soaked hair back with a grin. "Sorry to keep you waiting." His voice was casual, almost teasing. "Took down the boss quickly enough, but extracting the essence stones slowed me down." He glanced at the group, eyes sparkling. "I want to hit 3 more spots today. So, shall we move to the next field dungeon?" Miho and Ki-hoon froze. Their gaze fell on the glittering mana stones, the undeniable proof of his victory. Ki-hoon's thoughts screamed internally. Even a D-rank dungeon, alone. In just 1 hour, a chorus of disbelief erupted. What on earth is with this guy? From a distance, the apostle observed silently, his golden eyes narrowing. Every rumor, every story about Song Suho, all true. The scene shifted to the Hunter Association conference room. S-rank hunters and Chairman Woo Jinchul had gathered. Tension hung thick like storm clouds. Choi's voice cut through it, level but edged with concern. Entrusting all field-type dungeons to a single hunter? Is that wise? These sites are rich in mana stones and magical beast materials. The resources alone are staggering. Are we really willing to give that up? A sudden burst of laughter broke the tension. Baek Yoonho clapped Choi on the shoulder, joking, "Choi, you really are the living embodiment of greed." But the laughter faded, replaced by grave contemplation. "If the Atarim destroy the world," Baek continued, "what use are stones, money, or hoarded wealth? Everything becomes meaningless if the world burns." Choi glanced at Lim Tae-gyu. Yet, still, I admit I was surprised. Who would wager so boldly on handing over their dungeons? Especially the guild with the largest stake? Lim's expression remained stone cold. Those field-type dungeons were the source of star powder factories. "I'll do whatever it takes to eradicate that stimulant." The same one that ruined Lee Min Sung. Choi's jaw tightened as an older fear crept back into his mind. Memories of monarchs and invaders they had faced long ago. But what if the threats outside our world are comparable in scale to the monsters we battled then? Can we truly stop such entities? Even Baek's posture shifted, his head bowing slightly under the weight of past memories. The overwhelming power gaps still vivid in his mind. Chairman Woo Jinchul's voice cut through the unease, steady and commanding. "You worry too much. This isn't something we can evade. If it's Suho, he can handle it." He continued, addressing the political reality. "Abolishing guild ownership of field-type dungeons will spark backlash. Convincing hunters like Miho or Park Dojin, those without memories of the old world, will be extremely difficult. They won't simply believe in invasions from beyond our world." Suho's eyes narrowed, determination hardening like steel. His thoughts were bitter, but focused. Woo Jinchul's voice rose again, deliberate and weighty. "There is one path, one way to make them listen." He began reciting names with precision, as though mapping the world's power in shorthand. Thomas Andre, USA, Liu Zhikang, China, Siddharth Bakan, India. These are outliers. Hunters whose power rivals entire nations. People rally behind individuals like them. Authority, respect, influence. It becomes magnetic. The implication struck Suho like a physical blow. If he could rise to national prominence, his influence would not be moral alone. It would be irresistible. The weight of the idea settled on him. Chairman Woo's words were not idle. They were a blueprint, a challenge, and a promise all at once. Suho clenched his fists, his resolve burning. 1 month, he whispered, voice cold and unwavering. "In 1 month, I'll be powerful enough to convince anyone I need to. I will become a force they cannot ignore." Back in the present, Chairman Woo Jinchul's tone shifted, crisp and businesslike. "For now, focus on the battles ahead." With that, he swung open the massive doors leading to the assembly hall. Choi Jong-in, Lim Tae-gyu, and Baek Yoon-ho trailed behind him. Beyond those doors, the room was alive with quiet tension. Representatives from every major regional guild waited. Azure Cloud Guild from Yongseo, Lava Guild from Yeongdong, the hosed region's contingent, and Daecheong Guild. The air hummed with the silent calculation of risk, reward, and authority. As Woo Jinchul stepped into the crowded hall, his thoughts were focused and resolute. "We have to do this for Suho's growth." At the same time, in the field-type dungeon, Suho's path had been relentless. For 2 straight days, he tore through dungeon after dungeon, alone. His fists and shadows carved paths through swarms of insects, goblin raiding parties, and monstrous centipedes that would have shattered even the strongest raid teams. Every victory did more than clear the dungeon. Mana flowed through him more naturally with each battle. When Suho finally emerged from the last collapsing dungeon, his shadow soldiers trailing like a disciplined phalanx, the observers couldn't believe their eyes. Gihun leaned toward Miho, voice barely above a whisper. Is this really happening? Miho's eyes mirrored his shock. Over just 2 days, Suho had conquered 8 dungeons, 2 D ranks, 4 C ranks, 2 B ranks, single-handedly. And with every dungeon cleared, his mana had grown stronger, sharper, more refined. So he does exist. A hunter who truly grows stronger. Suho's gaze lingered on his shadows, feeling their obedience deepen as his mana rank climbed. The control that once required effort now felt natural. From behind him, Baru stepped forward, curiosity barely contained. Do you really think your mana can rival S-rank Hunter Park Dojin? A faint, knowing smile curved Suho's lips. I already know. Hidden in plain sight, the Apostle's golden eyes narrowed, restless. Power rising this fast, so quickly, was a danger to every plan he had. His fragment needed to arrive soon, or Suho's growth would tip the scales irreversibly. Night fell. Suho returned home, exhaustion tugging at his limbs, but his spirit burned with purpose. The moment he stepped into the hall, instincts flared. A presence. Someone was here. Hwang Dong-soo sat before him, unnervingly calm, with Suho's family in his hand. His voice dripped with venom. What a shame. If your family had come first, they would have suffered the same miserable fate as I did. His aura pressed outward, dense and suffocating, and then his lips twisted into a grin that was anything but friendly. You're finally here, sung Suho. The shattered photo frame lay scattered across the floor, glass shards glinting under the crimson light. Their faces crushed beneath Hwang Dong-soo's boot. The S-rank hunter twisted his heel slowly, savoring the sound. His laughter, cold and sharp, filled the silent room. What a shame, his tone dripping with mockery. If your family had arrived first, I would have had some real fun. Suho stood frozen, his eyes shadowed beneath the red glow. The warmth drained from him, replaced by a hard, unyielding calm. He knew this man. Hwang Dong-soo, the S-rank awakener Woo Jinchul had warned him about. Younger brother of Hwang Dong-suk, the one behind the Jisan prison incident, some whispered Dong-soo had helped orchestrate the escape himself. And now, with his brother gone, he had turned his fury towards Suho. Did you come for revenge? Suho asked quietly, his voice cold. Save your anger. I didn't kill your brother. Kang Tae-sik did. Dong-soo's smirk deepened, amusement flashing in his eyes. You even know that name? Not bad, he chuckled. Revenge? Don't flatter yourself. I'm here because someone ruined my plan, and that pisses me off. Suho's gaze hardened. You're beyond saving. If you want to fight, let's take this somewhere else. A pulse of killing intent burst from Dong-soo, red and heavy. The air itself seemed to burn. Why should I? He sneered. Suho drove his fist into the wall beside him. The concrete split with a deafening crack. Alarms blared, flooding the room with flashing light. In 5 minutes, he said, his tone steady, security and hunters will be here. Still want to stand around? For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then Dong-soo laughed, low and dangerous. You've got guts, brat. The city's edge was quiet beneath the moonlight. A half-built tower rose into the sky, steel beams cutting through the fog. The 2 S-ranks stood opposite each other in the open skeleton of the building, the night wind howling through the empty floors. Dong-soo rolled his shoulders, cracking his neck as he spoke. So it's true. You reawakened. What's your new rank? S? Maybe higher? I won't know until I'm tested, Suho answered. His eyes didn't waver. But first, tell me how you got the star fragments. Dong-soo laughed, the sound echoing through the hollow space. Star fragments? You need a boost already? Weaklings use that junk. Suho's expression didn't change, but his thoughts tightened. So he isn't supplied by the Apostle of Atiram. That means his source is separate. Dong-soo slid his glasses down slightly, revealing eyes glowing faintly red. You're just another lucky kid who reawakened, he said. But let me remind you. His aura exploded outward, heat rolling off him in waves. Not all S-ranks are equal. The weight of his power hit Suho like a storm. Every instinct screamed at him to back away, but he didn't move. His fingers curled into fists. Good, he murmured. Then let's see how far I've come. He lunged forward. Shadows surged at his feet, wrapping around him like living armor. His punch tore through the air with brutal speed. But Dong-soo moved faster. His foot struck the ground, the impact detonating like an explosion. Concrete erupted upward, a jagged wall of debris crashing into Suho mid-charge. The force threw him back, pain stabbing through his ribs. When the dust settled, Dongsu was still smiling, his eyes glowing brighter. "Trying to brawl with me?" he said mockingly. "You're a summoner. Don't waste my time. Bring out your shadow creature." Before Suho could react, Dongsu blurred forward. His fist slammed into Suho's stomach, the impact loud as thunder. Suho's body lifted off the ground and smashed into the wall behind him. Cracks spiderwebbed through the concrete as dust and rubble rained down. Suho hit the floor. His legs trembled beneath him, threatening to buckle. But he forced himself upright. Before he could even steady his breath, Dongsu was already upon him. The sheer speed of the S-rank warrior was blinding. Like a predator striking before the prey even realizes it's being hunted, Dongsu's shadow fell over him, and in a heartbeat, his leg came down in a crushing stomp. The ground shattered under the force, concrete splintered, chunks flying like deadly shrapnel. Suho barely leapt back in time, feeling the tremor through his bones. This time, he refused to retreat. He spotted it. A tiny, almost imperceptible gap in Dongsu's stance. It was fleeting, a whisper of an opening, but it was enough. Suho lunged, shadows unfurling around him like living tendrils. He unleashed a kick, full power, aimed straight at Dongsu's face. Impact clean, precise, a force that would have felled any A-rank warrior. But Dongsu? He only tilted his head, a slow, deliberate smirk curling across his face. "That's it?" he taunted, brushing his lip with a thumb. "Just a tickle." Before Suho could even regain his footing, Dongsu's fist shot forward, a lightning strike of brutal strength. Suho met it with crossed arms, but the blow drove him flying, his body colliding with the steel-reinforced floor, sparks exploding where metal met stone. Dongsu advanced, a machine of relentless fury. Punch after punch rained down like unyielding artillery. Each strike rattled Suho's bones, shaking his very resolve. "Really?" Dongsu roared, a demonic grin splitting his face. "You think you can beat me with raw strength alone? Even if you poured every ounce of power into your body, brat? It wouldn't matter." Suho's arms trembled under the assault, yet his eyes sharpened. A flicker of memory struck him. His class change mission, facing his younger self, the crushing weight of past failures. Compared to that, this pain was manageable. But reflection came at a cost. Dongsu's eyes caught the slightest hesitation. He stomped down with deadly precision, pinning Suho's foot. "Daydreaming on me?" Dongsu snarled, the grin twisting into something feral. "Then die for it?" The punch landed like a sledgehammer, hurling Suho through the wall. Concrete exploded outward, dust choking the air, and he crashed onto the ground outside, rubble collapsing around him like miniature avalanches. Dongsu's grin faltered. Blood dripped down his knuckles. Suho had conjured a jagged shadow weapon, piercing the S-rank's hand. The predator's calm shattered, replaced with raw fury. Battered and coughing, Suho stirred. Pain coursed through him, but determination flared brighter than any injury. From the smoke behind him, Buru appeared, wings twitching, insectoid eyes wide with concern. "Young monarch, are you all right?" A grim smile cracked Suho's bloodied face. "I can't go toe-to-toe with an enhancement-type S-rank without using my abilities," he admitted, pressing a hand to his bruised ribs. Then, resolve ignited. Shadows began to coil, armor materializing across his body in jagged, suffocating patterns. His aura thickened, pressing into the air like a physical force. Purple fire gleamed in his eyes. The shadows wrapped him fully, a living cloak of darkness. The night itself seemed to bend, condense around him. Suho landed with a shockwave that cracked the rooftop, his shadow armor rippling like liquid night, each jagged edge alive with power. His voice was steady, unyielding, a decree of war. "Round 2, Huang Dongsu. Let's end this." Dongsu's confident grin faltered, cracked for the first time. His eyes darted to the armor before him, black as midnight, forged from shadows themselves. Where did this come from?" he demanded. "You really think you can defeat me with all that garbage?" But the taunt faltered. The words caught in his throat. A strange, sinister ripple twisted through the air, dark and alive, and Dongsu's step faltered backward. His pupils shrank to slits, heart hammering. He couldn't comprehend it, yet the flood of memories began anyway. Images clawed their way from the depths of his mind, glimpses he had long buried. A man, seated high upon a building, radiating an aura that crushed the soul itself. The shadow monarch sung Jinwoo himself. The memories struck Dongsu like a jagged blade. And then the voice, icy and unyielding, slicing through the haze of time. "What about greed? You died consumed by it, Huang Dongsu. Do you like that name?
And then with the weight of the past converging on him, half of Dong-su's body began to twist, becoming the form of Jinwoo's once loyal shadow general, greed itself.
Suho stood unmoving, draped in his shadow battle armor. The dark plating seemed alive, exuding a fearsome aura that pressed down on everything nearby. His sharp gaze locked onto Hwang Dong-su, who froze. Shock painted across his face. The armor undulated, tendrils of black mist curling around Suho before fading into nothing. Calmly, he deactivated the item's appearance, revealing a composed, icy expression. "This isn't me," he thought. Too flashy, too cumbersome. Better off keeping it off. Dong-su, meanwhile, staggered backward, his body trembling. Memories, violent and raw, assaulted him. Fragments of his past life rushing through his mind. Faces, moments, names. Sung Jin-woo, the Shadow Monarch. The instant when Jin-woo's overwhelming power crushed him, leaving nothing but death and despair. "What is this? Hallucinations?" Dong-su muttered, clutching his head. "No, these aren't someone else's memories. These are mine." A flash of recognition struck him. Those cold, calculating eyes. He remembered the man who had looked down on him, and suddenly, a name burned in his mind. Sung Jin-woo. Suho's brow furrowed. Why does Hwang Dong-su know my father's name? From the shadows, Baru appeared, wings trembling faintly as a soft hiss escaped him. "Greed," Baru said solemnly. He's recalling memories from his previous life. Suho's frown deepened. "Greed? Explain." Baru bowed slightly. "Hwang Dong-su. In the previous world, he was an enemy of my liege. Your father. Eventually, he was slain and reborn as the shadow soldier Greed. Now, those memories have returned." Rage erupted from Dong-su. He tore his tattered clothes from his body, throwing them aside. Breathing grew heavy, fists clenched. "Wait, he can regain his memories without a shadow key?" Suho asked. Baru nodded. "It is possible. Woo Jin-chu managed to remember the previous world without assistance. Dong-su can too." Dong-su's eyes blazed, his mind a storm of fury. Sung Jin-woo, Sung Suho, that family photo? So he is Jin-woo's son. But why? Why isn't he a hunter in this world? Is Jin-woo restrained somehow? The anger boiled over and he lunged. His fist cut through the air like a missile, but Suho lifted an arm, stopping the strike effortlessly. The necromancer skill? Jin-woo's shadow magic. This boy has it too? Dong-su thought. But he's still a novice. I can take advantage. Yet old memories clawed at him. Endless days kneeling before Jin-woo. The torment of being turned into a shadow soldier. The humiliation of serving a master who had stripped away all pride. A snarl tore from his throat. For all that suffering, you'll pay. And lose a son, Sung Jin-woo. Another swing came, wild and desperate. Suho's expression remained unmoved. "What's frightening you, Hwang Dong-su?" he asked coldly. Blood sprayed across the battlefield. Dong-su's left arm bore fresh, deep cuts. In a single fluid motion, Suho summoned his shadows, blades of living darkness materializing and stabbing through every defense Dong-su managed. Screams tore from Dong-su's throat as each strike found its mark. He trembled, breath ragged, eyes wide with disbelief. How is he so strong? Suho remained silent. Words were unnecessary. His mind calculated efficiently. Countless shadow items obtained from dungeon raids, stat enhancements, summoning mechanisms, all at his fingertips. Without opening the shadow item window, he called forth phantom weapons through sheer concentration. A scythe of living shadow arced, slicing Dong-su again. Each wound expanded as though the shadows themselves were learning, adapting to strike with precision. Blood sprayed freely. Dong-su spat crimson, seeing not just Suho, but the ghostly image of the shadow monarch behind him. Panic twisted his thoughts. He summons weapons at will? Did Sung Jin-woo possess this level of power? The thought struck Hwang Dong-su, but it meant nothing now. The assault left no room for questions, only pain and panic. From the shadows, Baru observed silently, his wings flickering with restrained awe, the young monarch. He is growing. Even in the chaos of battle, his strength, his tactics, his very presence, everything was evolving beyond measure. My liege, I, Baru, may boldly say, it won't be long before I witness you stand beside the young monarch. Dong-su's body was riddled with wounds. Blood streaked the floor. Kneeling, he gasped, every breath sharp with pain. Gathering the last reserves of strength, he slammed both palms into the ground. Damn it, he bellowed, the roar tearing through the air. The force shattered the room. Dust and plaster rained down. The upper floor cracked, splintering under the impact. Even in defeat, Dong-su's mind raced, calculating, that kid, stronger than I imagined. I need time to regroup, to prepare. Retreat, yes, but he dressed it in malice, in twisted pride. I'm not running, I am preparing to kill him for certain. His plotting continued. I'll strike when he lowers his guard. I'll kidnap those close to him, force him into weakness. Strength alone won't save him. But before he could act, darkness fell. The ceiling shadowed over him. Silent as smoke slicing the night, Suho descended. Dongsu's heart hammered. He barely had time to react before Suho struck. A massive impact erupted from above, sending dust, rubble, and shattered stone into the air. When the storm settled, Dongsu remained on his knees, pain and shock flooding him. A shadow weapon jutted grotesquely from his left side. He spat out a curse, sharp and bitter. Shit. Are you going to make me your slave too? Anger and fear battled within him as he lunged for Suho's wrist, gripping with desperate strength. Try it, he growled. I'll resist. Fight to kill you, and Sung Jinwoo too. Suho's reply was a cold, calculating smile. What a greedy dream. You couldn't even defeat me, yet you think to reach my father? He tilted his head, voice dripping with quiet amusement. Go ahead, try. Though I doubt your mind is capable of even having such thoughts. Desperation cracked Dongsu, pulling from him a last ragged scream. Suho, and then silence. There was no second chance. Suho struck. No words, no hesitation, just the crushing certainty of power. As Suho stood quietly beside Dongsu's lifeless body, his expression calm yet carrying a chilling stillness, his gaze lingered on the corpse as he murmured under his breath, Hwang Dongsu had managed to awaken his past life memories without the aid of a shadow key. That could only mean one thing. His hatred toward his father had been so intense that it defied even death itself. Turning slightly, Suho glanced toward his faithful companion, the Ant General Baru. He said softly, what do you think of turning him into one of my shadows? Baru bowed deeply, his tone unwavering. It would be my greatest honor to serve my monarch in any way he desires. Suho said nothing for a moment. His mind wandered to the meaning behind the command, arise. To become a shadow soldier was not simply revival, it was an eternal sentence. Even in death, the soul was forced to fight once more, bound to undying loyalty. They retained their memories, emotions, and awareness, yet lost their freedom forever. Shadow equipment, however, was something else entirely. Unlike soldiers, equipment bore no will, no spirit, only the power and karma left behind. It was strength without consciousness. With that thought, Suho took a slow step forward until he stood directly beside Dongsu's remains. His right hand rose, dark mana swirling like mist around his palm. His voice was low, yet filled with authority. Arise. A crimson system window flashed instantly before his eyes. Shadow extraction failed. You have 2 attempts remaining. Suho stared at the body in silence, his tone level as he said, so even now you resist. Once again, he raised his hand, his mana flaring. Arise. Again, the same cold message appeared. Shadow extraction failed. You have 1 attempt remaining. Baru's composure shattered. He snarled at the corpse, his voice echoing with fury. You insolent wretch. How dare you defy the will of the young monarch? But Suho didn't react. He quietly knelt beside Dongsu's body, placing his hand over the man's chest. His voice softened, though his words carried a steel edge. So this is your final act of defiance. Huh? Keep resisting. Hold on to your hatred if you must, but I will not pity you. I don't need to understand you. He paused, eyes hardening. Right now, I need power. And if that means using the strength of someone like you, then so be it. His mana surged one final time. Arise. A sharp tone rang out and the system window shimmered. Shadow extraction successful. The scene shifted abruptly. A car screeched to a halt outside the half-collapsed building where Suho's battle had just taken place. 2 familiar figures leaped out. Choi Jong-in and Woo Jin-chul. That's the site of the explosion. Jong-in shouted. Jin-chul's eyes darted toward the building. It's too close to Suho's home. Hurry. Their hearts pounded as they rushed inside. The last thing Jin-chul remembered was the security alarm going off and their communication cutting out. A massive hole in Suho's wall confirmed it. Someone had attacked. Before they could advance further, a calm voice stopped them. You 2 are late. Suho emerged from the shadows, completely unharmed. Suho. Both men called out in relief. Glancing around, Suho noted, looks like the association was alerted as well. Jin-chul caught his breath and asked, what happened here? Are you alright? Who was the intruder? Suho's answer was immediate. Hwang Dongsu. The 2 hunters froze, realizing the truth. Jong-in muttered, so it really was him. The S-rank criminal. Suho nodded, his tone steady. Yes, it was close, but it's over. Jin-chul hesitated, then asked softly, so he's gone? Suho's lips curled into a faint smile. Yes, I won. As he spoke, he lifted his right arm. A sleek dark gauntlet shimmered across it, his newest shadow artifact born from the remains of Hwang Dongsu. A glowing system window appeared before him once again, displaying the item's stats. The scene transitions. Time has passed since Suho's brutal clash. A large crowd now swarms outside the massive structure of the Korean Hunters Association headquarters. Reporters pack the front entrance, cameras flashing, voices overlapping as they wait eagerly for the next big revelation. Inside the building, the focus shifts to a restricted chamber, the Hunters Association Mana Evaluation Center, where every awakened individual's true rank is determined. One hunter exits the testing room, shoulders slumped and eyes downcast. He mutters bitterly that despite all the excitement, he ended up as just a D rank. His friend gives a sympathetic pat on the back, telling him not to lose hope. Even D ranks can earn a living. A few rows away, a man with sharp eyes and a small notebook observes the scene in silence. His name is Kim Pensok. He's been keeping a tally of every person who's taken the test so far. 4 D ranks, 2 E ranks, he notes mentally. Come on, it's about time someone decent shows up. A crooked smile spreads across his face. He's not expecting an S rank, but even an A rank or a solid B rank would change his luck. Just then, the testing room door opens, and an association staff member steps out, calling for the next candidate. Kim glances at the man beside him. It'll be his turn right after this one. The staff member calls again, his voice clear. Mister, please come in. This man was none other than Sung Soo-ho himself. Kim clenches his fists and silently prays for himself. Please anything, but E rank. Moments later, Kim Pensok's own test concludes. The screen flashes his result. E rank. His expression falls flat as he slumps back in disappointment. After some time outside the headquarters, a storm of excitement erupts. Reporters shout over each other, their cameras flashing non-stop. News spreads like wildfire. South Korea has gained another S-rank hunter, and he's a reawakener. He's the same one from the Jisun prison incident. Questions pour out like rain as Soo-ho steps into the light. Now officially recognized as an S-rank, one reporter pushes through the chaos and calls out, "How does it feel to become an S-rank hunter?" Soo-ho meets the frenzy with a calm smile. He chuckles softly, the composure of a man who needs no grand words. Upstairs, inside the association, Woo Jin-chul watches from the window. A quiet pride glows in his eyes as he murmurs, "He did it. Soo-ho has truly become an S-rank." Just as he said he would. Nearby, in a private conference room, several guildmasters gather. Choi Jung-in leans forward and comments that none of this is surprising. With Soo-ho's astonishing growth speed, it was bound to happen. At this rate, he could reach national level powers sooner than any of us predicted, but his expression soon hardens. Now that the groundwork is complete, we move to phase 2, clearing every remaining field-type dungeon in Korea, then uniting the guilds still standing. After that, bring together hunters from every corner of the world. He exhales slowly, his voice heavy. All of this, to honor Sung Jin-woo's legacy. It's a goal almost too vast to imagine. Baek Yoon-ho speaks next, his tone edged with concern. That may be true, but while we're focused on this mission, the apostles of Itarim won't just sit quietly. They've already been moving in the shadows. Woo Jin-chul nods grimly. And there's more. The banned substance known as star powder or star fragments keeps spreading. It's evolving. Someone's leaking intel from inside the association. It's as if the apostles are hiding among us. His words hang heavy in the air. If that's the case, we're facing an internal enemy. One smarter and far more dangerous than we expected. Outside, the camera pans through the crowd again. A familiar face stands among the onlookers. Park Do-jin. His expression is cold and unreadable as his gaze locks on Soo-ho. And then, in the blink of an eye, Park Do-jin's figure dissolves into the air, vanishing without a trace. The scene transitions to the interior of a dungeon. A dark portal flickers to life. Within the eerie glow, Park Do-jin stands at the center of a bloodstained battlefield, surrounded by dozens of humans, each moving under his control. They are mercilessly tearing apart the carcass of a massive beast. With a cold, emotionless tone, Park Do-jin commands, "Enough." At once, the slaughter halts. The air grows silent except for the dripping of monster blood on stone. "Gather," he orders. Immediately, the controlled hunters move in unison, kneeling before him, their heads bowed in absolute submission. Park Do-jin gazes at them quietly, his expression unreadable, mind working like a strategist piecing together a vast and dangerous puzzle. So, he muses internally. After Lee Min-sung, even A-rank hunters can't resist the star fragments anymore, but the fragments still lack refinement. They're not potent enough to convert an S-rank into a follower. His eyes narrow as thoughts of Soo-ho cross mind. Since Sung Soo-ho ascended to S-rank, he's been expanding his reach, pulling in guilds, forming alliances, uniting hunters under one banner. He even challenged me to his so-called territory conquest game, a contest of power where only the strongest awakeners decide the victor. A faint scowl touches his lips. If he's gathering every S-rank in Korea, then building my influence here alone is meaningless. Can I truly face him head-on against that monstrous growth rate? Even with all my believers combined, I might not prevail. He mutters under his breath. Once the 4th fragment arrives, a dark smile curls on his face. The 4th fragment, the embodiment of pure darkness. It's already on its way to Sung Soo-ho. His gaze sharpens with ambition. This game, I'll win it, no matter the cost. The power of the 4th fragment will be mine. No, the 5th as well. I'll claim them both. His eyes gleam with a dangerous resolve. Then, a voice echoes from behind him. "Oh, Hunter Park Do-jin." A woman steps into the dim chamber. Her voice light and teasing, tinged with false surprise. "So it really is you. I didn't think I'd meet you inside a dungeon." Park Do-jin's expression hardens instantly, fury flashing in his eyes. The woman raises her hands nervously, taking a cautious step forward. "Thank goodness I got separated from my team. What a relief. Mind if I tag along until..." Before she can finish, Park Do-jin lifts his hand. A sharp wave of invisible energy slices through the air. A wet sound echoes. Her body jerks and a hole blooms cleanly through her head. She collapses lifeless to the ground. Park Dogan's voice rumbles. Low and dangerous. This dungeon belongs to the Reaper Guild. No outsiders are allowed here. Who are you? But before her body can cool, something strange happens. From the wound in her skull, golden light begins to seep out. Tiny insect-like creatures crawl forth, glowing faintly as they knit her torn flesh back together. Still lying on the cold stone, the woman's voice rises again. You've got good instincts. Slowly, she stands, the hole in her head sealing completely as her true form begins to manifest. Still, she adds, smiling faintly, it's rather impolite to attack someone before introducing yourself. Didn't anyone ever teach you manners? Hunter Park Dogan? Or should I say, Apostle of Iterum? Park Dogan's teeth grind together, his aura flaring. I asked who you are. The woman tilts her head. The upper half of her face is missing, only an empty void where eyes should be. Her mouth curls into an eerie smile. Me? She says softly. I'm Arsha. Her form shimmers, reality bending around her silhouette. Let's just say I'm a resident from another world, and I've come here to offer you a deal. The room was tense, filled with an uneasy silence as Arsha spoke. I'm not your enemy, Park Dujin. I'm a resident of this world, and I've come with an offer for you, the Apostle of Eterium. Dujin's expression darkened as he asked, an offer? How do you even know about me? Arsha smiled faintly. Just coincidence. While investigating the source of Stardust, I traced it to its distributor, Lee Min-sung. During that process, I came across information about you. My subordinates are quite skilled at gathering secrets. Before she could continue, several swords pierced through her body, blood splattering across the floor like a scene from a battlefield. Yet Arsha didn't scream or even flinch. She looked down at the blades calmly and said, there's no point in attacking me. This is just a clone. You're afraid I'll expose your identity, right? Don't worry, I'm not here to harm you. I'm here to help. She raised her hand, a faint glow illuminating her palm. Here, take this. Consider it a gift. You'll understand my value soon enough. A small crystal floated above her hand, burning with a golden blue flame. I've modified a star fragment. With this version, you could even control an S-rank being. Dujin's eyes widened as he examined it. The soul fire inside was stronger and yet incredibly stable. How could she enhance something this unstable and make it perfect? Arsha continued, I can provide more of these improved fragments, but in exchange I want your cooperation. Together we'll eliminate Sung Suho and the Monarch of Shadows. Dujin frowned. Why would someone like you want to work with a man who plans to destroy the world? Arsha chuckled softly. You think too small, Dujin. Just because I'm from this world doesn't mean I have to take its side. I choose what benefits me most. He narrowed his eyes. If you really wanted to help, you could have appeared before Lee Min-sung's death. Why now? Arsha tilted her head, a teasing tone in her voice. You ask too many questions. Girls don't like that, you know. I'll choose my alliances based on what serves me best. She stepped closer and said quietly, I'm also a monarch descendant, just like Sung Suho, but unlike him, I've chosen not to side with his kind. Dujin asked, so you have powers like his shadow authority? She shook her head. No, not that. My power is different. Behind Dujin, the corpse of a monster twitched and suddenly rose again, its hollow eyes burning faintly. It lunged forward but was instantly decapitated before reaching him. Arsha's calm voice filled the room. I'm the descendant of the Monarch of Plague. I can manipulate the fallen, twist life and death itself. She smiled faintly. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. If we work together, we both gain from this. The scene shifted as Arsha walked out of the gate where her two companions awaited her. A small girl named Pia ran up eagerly. How did it go? Did the apostle agree? Arsha nodded. Yes, he agreed to help us. Pia grinned proudly. I knew you could do it. Inside, Arsha thought to herself, Park Dujin, Apostle of Eterium. You were easier to convince than I expected. I only answered a few questions and you agreed so easily, but it makes sense. The Monarch of Shadows stands in your way, and hatred blinds even the strongest. Her gaze turned skyward as her system window flickered before her eyes. The quest read, Path to become a monarch. Objective, join forces with the Apostle of Eterium. Main obstacle, the Monarch of Shadows. Reward, knowledge of the next step toward monarch ascension. Arsha smiled coldly and whispered, soon, very soon, we descendants shall become monarchs. The scene shifts. The air thick with silence and the faint hum of tension. A group of guild members sit across a man at a polished wooden table. A contract spread out before him. One of them leans forward, voice confident yet pleading. This is the best offer we can give you, Mr. Lee Yoon-sok. Join our Fame Guild for the upcoming A-rank raid. It's a golden opportunity. The man across from them, Lee Yoon-sok, a freelancer and S-rank hunter, doesn't even glance at the paper. His tone remains calm but firm. I told you already, I don't take part in A-rank or higher raids. The guild rep insists, almost desperate. But that's ridiculous. You're in S-rank. A chance like this doesn't come every day. With your power, you could lead the entire raid. Eun-seok exhales slowly, his gaze distant. No matter what the offer is, I'm done with those kinds of gates. I'm not risking my life again. Another member speaks up, frustration creeping into his voice. You're one of Korea's strongest hunters. Clearing an A-rank dungeon should be child's play for you. For the first time, Eun-seok's voice trembles, a crack of emotion cutting through his calm. Every night I see it again. Those beasts tearing through my flesh, biting off my limbs while I'm still alive. Their roars, their smell, it never leaves me. He grips his arm, shaking slightly. What's the point of being S-rank if I can't even stand the sight of them anymore? Please, just go. Don't come here again. He turns toward the window, the reflection of his haunted eyes flickering in the glass. Outside, the world looks peaceful, but his mind is still trapped inside that nightmare gate. The guild members step outside, whispering among themselves. The girl says softly, "Are we really just going to give up?" The man beside her shrugs bitterly. Didn't you see his eyes? That guy's broken. What good is power when you can't even fight? Their conversation cuts short as footsteps echo up the stairs. Park Do-jin appears. Calm, confident, and carrying an aura that demands silence. He walks straight past them, heading toward Eun-seok's office. Eun-seok exhales slowly. Hey, you're from the Reaper Guild, right? I've heard your people think you're above everyone else who gave you the right to barge into someone's place uninvited. Do-jin smirks faintly, brushing past him. Relax, I'm just here because I heard there's an S-rank hunter in here. One who loses his mind at the mere sight of a magic beast. Inside, Eun-seok turns sharply, sparks of lightning flickering around him. If you're here to mock me, you can leave right now. I don't need anyone's pity or help. His aura intensifies, static electricity dancing across the room. If you don't want to get burned alive, back off. Do-jin doesn't flinch. He steps closer and holds something glowing in front of Eun-seok's face, a star fragment pulsing with eerie light. Hunter Lee Eun-seok, he says quietly, his tone almost soothing. You won't have to fear monsters anymore, because from now on your enemies won't be magic beasts. Eun-seok's eyes flicker, confusion flashing for a moment, and then darkness. His body collapses instantly, hitting the floor with a dull thud. Do-jin stares down at him, expression unreadable. Darkness. Sung Soo-ho, the descendant of the monarch of shadows. And now, these new descendants who oppose that darkness. This world keeps twisting faster than expected. He kneels slightly, watching Eun-seok's motionless form. They were so focused on enemies beyond the gates, they never noticed the rot festering inside. But that's fine. I'll use every piece on this board until it all belongs to me. The camera closes in on Eun-seok's face. His eyes snap open, but now they're no longer his. A faint dark light glows within them. Once a broken S-rank hunter haunted by fear has now become one of Do-jin's puppets. At another section of the control tower, several operators were busy working at their stations, monitoring screens and managing air traffic routes. One of them, a guy with bright orange hair wearing a headset, received a radio transmission from a passenger aircraft requesting communication. He responded promptly, acknowledging the call and asking the pilot to continue. The pilot reported that their aircraft was currently cruising at flight level 350, located at coordinates North 6, East Essex, within South Korean airspace, and then asked a rather unusual question. Was it possible for snow to fall at such an altitude? The control tower operator replied that such a thing shouldn't be possible. Snow forms below the clouds, not above them. The pilot agreed. That was exactly why he was confused, because what he was witnessing defied common sense. Outside his cockpit window, the pilot could see a swirling portal suspended in the sky, a dungeon gate floating in open air, releasing flurries of snow into the atmosphere. The pilot's face drained of all color as he noticed movement inside the gate. Something was there. He reported immediately that a gate had appeared high above South Korea. The controller froze, repeating the word "gate" in disbelief. The pilot continued, panic growing in his voice. A violent snowstorm was rapidly forming around the gate, and visibility was worsening. If the turbulence increased any further, he would lose control. He declared an emergency landing. But before further instructions could be given, the transmission suddenly cut out. The operator's face turned white. They had just lost contact with an aircraft. The entire control center stared at him, stunned, demanding to know what had just happened. Meanwhile, somewhere entirely different, a monstrous creature, its eyes glowing fiercely and its fangs bared, lunged forward to attack its prey. But before it could strike, thin violet lines split across its entire body, and in an instant it was shredded apart, its remains scattered, completely obliterated. The figure responsible stood calmly among the fading remains, a hunter clad in shadow-forged armor and a dark cloak, dual-wielding a dagger and another weapon. His presence radiated overwhelming dominance. It was none other than Sung Soo-ho, looking sharp with his new haircut and equipped with the legendary Greed Gauntlet. He realized he still hadn't fully tested Greed's unique ability. Even so, he could feel it. When he equipped the gauntlet, his stats noticeably surged. He wondered if this manifestation rate increased with level. If so, reaching S-rank stats might actually be possible. Then the item stats displayed, showing all the status and agilities. Suho noted that since the Mana Stone fusion was complete, the dungeon was close to collapsing. He needed to finish up. Shadow soldiers only lasted a single day. To keep them, he had to convert them into shadow items permanently. So far, he had about 340 stored. His plan was to dismiss the weaker ones, then reconstruct better ones with the newly acquired soldiers. As he summoned them, the shadows gathered around him. A notification appeared. Shadow creation skill has leveled up. The chances of producing higher-grade shadow items had increased. His eyes widened. Immediately, multiple shadow weapons began to materialize around him. Swords, axes, daggers, shields, an entire armory floating at his command. At higher skill levels, the number of rare and powerful items significantly increased. Common quality items were now far fewer. It was possible he could even generate more heroic grade items. Then he noticed one particular item that had appeared, another heroic grade gauntlet. He blinked. Another gauntlet? And so soon after obtaining greed, it was unfortunate that heroic gear couldn't have its appearance customized. And compared to greed, the new gauntlet still offered lower stat amplification. So he simply decided to store it for now. After storing the Manticore gear, Suho stepped out of the dungeon site and noticed 2 Hunter Association staff members waiting nearby. He thought to himself that the association managed to persuade the other guilds, allowing him to continue clearing field-type dungeons without interference. However, he still had not discovered a single Stardust manufacturing site inside any of these dungeons. Were the enemies already anticipating his movements and relocating before he arrived? One of the workers approached and congratulated him on finishing the raid, beginning to mention the next field dungeon assignment. Before Suho could respond, his phone vibrated. A new notification appeared. All summoned hunters were to report to the Hunter Association headquarters immediately. Whatever had happened, it required urgent attention. At the association, the atmosphere was tense. Guild leaders from across the country were gathered in the main conference room. Even Ma Dongwook was present. Park Jong-soo, the A-rank hunter and guild master of the Night Order, silently noted that nearly every major guild representative in Korea was here. He was the only A-rank among them, which likely meant he was summoned specifically because of his position. Baek Yoon-ho addressed the room, assuming everyone already understood why they were gathered. Choi commented that it must be connected to the gate that appeared in South Korea's airspace. Lim Tae-gyu added that the purpose of this meeting was to determine ownership of the gate. Ma Dongwook laughed, stating plainly that his Fame Guild would of course be claiming it. He turned to Lim Tae-gyu and brought up the rumor about him recruiting the S-rank hunter Lee Eun-seok. He questioned how Lim managed to convince such a stubborn man, when even their guild failed repeatedly. Lim replied that it was not him, but Hunter Park Dojin who secured that recruitment. He simply had competent guild members handling the matter. Choi looked visibly irritated upon hearing that. At that moment, the conference room doors opened and Suho rushed in, apologizing breathlessly for being late. He explained he had just finished clearing a field dungeon. Several guild masters stared in surprise. S-rank Sung Suho had arrived. Immediately, people gathered around him. One hunter greeted him warmly, while another A-rank hunter eagerly encouraged Suho to join Night Order Guild, promising excellent conditions. Another recommended the Fame Guild instead. Choi watched this unfold, feeling a strong sense of deja vu. Suho politely rejected both invitations, saying he currently had no intention of joining any guild. Both hunters deflated instantly, looking like students who had just been rejected by their crush. Sulking quietly, Suho took a seat and nodded at Choi. Choi thought to himself that, as always, Suho refused without hesitation. Suho then realized something while looking around the room. He was the only hunter present without a guild. Perhaps creating his own guild would make recruitment much easier. He should seriously consider founding one. Then the chairman Woo Jin-chul entered the room with his assistant. Ma Dongwook casually remarked that Jin-chul looked exhausted and asked if he had a stomachache. Jin-chul apologized, explaining that gathering and verifying data took longer than expected. He thanked everyone for responding quickly and then sat down. His assistant began distributing printed briefing files. Jin-chul addressed the room. As most people already knew, a gate appeared in the skies above Korean airspace the previous day. It was first sighted by the pilot of a commercial passenger aircraft. However, the aircraft was caught in the mana storm surrounding the gate and crashed, resulting in heavy loss of life. The association dispatched A-rank hunters to evaluate the gate's mana density, yet the mana output far exceeded that of an ordinary A-rank gate. They had classified the airborne gate as S-rank. The room fell silent. Several hunters visibly blanched. Suho wondered if this was the first S-rank gate since the Great Cataclysm. Choi muttered that the worst possible scenario had finally arrived. His eyes glowed faintly red with anxiety. Even veteran hunters who had experienced the old work looked shaken. Were S-rank gates truly that catastrophic? Suho suggested that if every guild prepared and fought together, they should be able to handle it. At that moment, Baru appeared beside Suho's shoulder and quietly stated that would not be enough. Even if they combined all their strength, it would amount to nothing more than a meal for the creatures inside the gate. Ma Dongwook noticed Baru and realized this was the famous summoned familiar they had heard rumors about. Suddenly, his eyes snapped wide open and his entire body trembled. A chilling aura spread through the room. Suho flicked Baru on the head, asking what he was doing and threatening to return him to the Shadow Realm if he kept this up. Baru explained, voice heavy, that he knew exactly what kind of existence ruled an S-rank gate, because in the previous world, the sovereign of the S-rank gates had been none other than himself. Suho, realizing the truth, Beru, the being standing beside him, was once the boss of an S-rank dungeon, the very one that had terrified all S-rank hunters. Choi Jong-in narrowed his eyes as he recalled the past. Now that I think back, yes, it really was him. Baru laughed, a sharp, arrogant laugh. The moment these weaklings saw me, they understood. They were nothing but insects before my presence. Now that the truth is clear, kneel. Beg for your insignificant lives. Worms. Before he could continue, Suho struck him across the face. Don't intimidate them for no reason. Baru instantly lowered himself, bowing deeply. My apologies, young monarch. After regaining authority for the first time in so long, I was overwhelmed by emotion. Choi Jong-in stared in disbelief. If what he said is true, was he truly capable of clearing an S-rank dungeon by himself? Suho replied calmly, it might have been possible in the past, but Baru has lost most of his strength. At the moment, he isn't very useful. Baru's antennae trembled in offense. Young monarch, please, not that far. Nearby, Park Jong-soo and Ma Dong-wook watched the exchange without understanding any of it. Choi Jong-in sighed, explaining everything will take too long. We should let them remember it themselves. He turned to Suho. Suho, can you restore their memories of the previous world? Suho nodded, yes. He withdrew the key, and with its activation, the memories of Park Jong-soo and Ma Dong-wook returned in an instant. Ma Dong-wook's voice trembled. Did the entire world reset? If this S-rank gate is like Jeju Island, we will have to fight those monsters again. Jin-chul spoke next. The last time an S-rank gate appeared, a dungeon break occurred 7 days after its appearance. If the gate above Seoul breaks, the destruction will be unimaginable. Park Jong-soo tried to reason. But if the dungeon is floating in the sky, won't the monsters fall and die? Jin-chul shook his head. We have already confirmed that the gate has been gradually descending. In 7 days, it will reach the ground, right in the center of Seoul. Park Jong-soo's expression hardened. So it is a moving gate, meaning there is only one option. We must clear it. Baek Yoon-ho clenched his fists in silence. So-ho had already defeated Hong Dong-soo, an S-rank hunter. His power now exceeded theirs. If this continued, they would only become a burden to him. For the first time in years, Baek Yoon-ho felt powerless. Choi Jong-in murmured. In the previous world, the only reason that S-rank gate was cleared was because of Sung Jin-woo. If only he were still here. Silence hung heavy. The absence of Sung Jin-woo was felt by all. Whether they were prepared or not, the S-rank gate had appeared. If they failed to clear it, the world would fall. Suho clenched his fists, thinking deeply. He needed to accomplish something that only he could do, something even his father could not. At that moment, a system quest appeared. Mandatory quest. Use everything you possess. Clear the S-rank gate. Suho's eyes widened. Then, he felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned, but no one was there. He understood. The answer was within him. Baek Yoon-ho stepped forward. You are a physical combat hunter like me. I obtained something in a field dungeon. As for the name, the White Tiger and Fist, Baekgu, that sounds good. It may help. His stats appeared, strong and balanced. So, Woho nodded. I want to test something. Will you assist me? Then, the scene shifts to a field-type dungeon. Choi Jong-in examined the surroundings and spoke. So, this is a B-rank gate. I followed Suho all the way here, but I still don't understand what he's trying to do. But more importantly, he's actually having Baek Yoon-ho hunt monsters. Jin-chul asked, what benefit is there in having Baek Yoon-ho hunt monsters? Suho answered, I want to test a piece of equipment that I created myself. Jin-chul looked surprised. An ability that allows you to create equipment? So your ability isn't the same as Hunter Sung Jin-woo's, where he summons shadow creatures? Suho shook his head. It is similar, but also different. My father's shadow soldiers were permanent. He could summon them anytime, like an army. But my shadow soldiers disappear after one day. I cannot do what my father did. He continued. However, even if the method is different, I can still do something. My shadow creation ability lets me convert soldiers into shadow gear. Some shadow gear can level up. Whoever wears the gear will gain the stats of the soldier it was made from. Jin-chul's eyes widened. So the gauntlet you gave Baek Yoon-ho is growth-type gear. Choi Jong-in followed the idea. If that's true, then whoever uses that gear can grow stronger simply by hunting monsters. Suho nodded. That is what I believe. The only issue is that I don't know whether anyone other than me can use this ability effectively. At that moment, Baek Yoon-ho spoke up. This gauntlet Suho gave me is better than I expected. Forget performance, just wearing it has already taught me a new skill. The gauntlet glowed faintly. Baek Yoon-ho had gained the skill ambush and the shadow gear had leveled up. Baek Yoon-ho flexed his hand. My body feels lighter. My movements are sharper, faster. Suho looked at everyone. The S-rank dungeon break will happen in 6 days. Before that happens, I will create gear for all of you. Let's overcome all the upcoming trials together. Immediately, everyone started talking at once. Make me fire-type gear. No, make mine first. Hey, I want an ice-type set. Lim Tigyu pushed forward. Hey, make mine first. Suho raised his hands, laughing. I can't choose what type comes out. That's not how this works. Jin-chul watched Suho, feeling something deep within. He thought, Sung Jin-woo's power was absolute. He didn't need anyone's help. But Suho's power is different. His power is meant to lead everyone. The ones who couldn't help in the previous world now have hope because of him. If only we could fight alongside him for real. I hope that day comes soon. The warm scene opened over a luxurious private beach in the United States. Thomas Andre lay stretched out on an oversized sunbed, basking in the sunlight as though nothing in the world could trouble him. His secretary, Laura, stood beside him with a tablet in her hands. She cleared her throat gently. She informed him that he seemed to have forgotten something. Thomas did not bother opening his eyes and simply replied that he believed he had not forgotten anything. Laura stepped forward and reminded him that he had previously stated that after visiting the Azure Guild, he would be traveling to Korea. Only then did Thomas tilt his head slightly, a faint grin forming. He remarked that meeting Sung Suho was like harvesting fruit, and the fruit was not yet ripe. Laura stared blankly, uncertain about the metaphor, but Thomas chuckled. He explained that by demonstrating scavengers' power to the Azure Guild, their image had been refreshed. Suho had awakened again and had even become an S-rank, which was profitable enough. Traveling to Korea now would achieve nothing more. Laura's eyes narrowed as she reminded him of Randolph. She noted that he had wanted revenge. Thomas fell quiet, and after a moment he spoke softly, saying that it was not revenge he desired. He simply wished to mourn. To use Randolph's death in a meaningful way that he believed was the greatest honor he could give him. Laura then held out the tablet and said that this might be such a moment. Thomas accepted it, and his expression immediately shifted. The headline on the display announced, First S-rank gate appears in Korea since the Cataclysm International Hunter Support requested. A calm yet ominous smile formed on his lips. He declared that the fruit was now ripe. He instructed Laura to contact Korea and inform them that the Scavenger Guild would lend its support. She was also told to prepare the jet, as they would depart immediately. Laura acknowledged the command without hesitation. Thomas rose and looked toward the open sky, silently promising Randolph that he would ensure his death was repaid dearly. The scene shifted to Korea, where Cho Jong-in, guildmaster of the Hunters Guild, stood in astonishment. Before him hovered an item created from pure shadow, a bracelet forged by Sung Suho. A system window floated beside it. Suho approached him silently and explained that this was shadow gear he crafted specifically for Cho Jong-in, and he had named it Torch. Cho Jong-in carefully equipped the bracelet, thinking to himself that a growth-type item personally created by Sung Suho meant that by hunting monsters, he too would grow stronger. He then wondered aloud whether Suho had created growth items for the other hunters as well, and if Suho was not pushing himself too far. Suho attempted to stand straight, assuring him that he was fine and had already completed the equipment for everyone present, but his trembling body told a different story. From the side, Baru clicked his tongue internally. The ant monarch noted privately that Suho had been hunting day and night to craft heroic-grade items, and had used all remaining time to complete Almut's daily quests. Potions were the only thing keeping him upright after 2 days without rest. Cho Jong-in saw Suho sway, nearly unable to keep his eyes open. He could tell Suho was pushing himself far beyond his limits simply to keep a promise. Cho clenched his fists, determined to work harder so Suho's effort would not be wasted. Suho steadied his breath and stated that all that remained was to deliver the gauntlet to Chairman Woo Jin-chul. Cho Jong-in offered to accompany him to the Hunter Association. Suho insisted it was unnecessary, but Cho stated that he had his own business there as well, namely that Thomas Andre was visiting today. Suho's expression stiffened at the name of the American National Level Hunter. The towering headquarters of the Korean Hunter Association was unusually tense when Suho and Cho Jong-in entered. A long line of hunters filled the hallway, all wearing stern and heavy expressions. Suho quietly remarked that there were far too many hunters gathered. Cho Jong-in replied that they were most likely members of the Scavenger Guild, here under Thomas Andre's command. He then asked Suho to wait outside. Suho observed the men from a distance, recalling that Scavenger was the very same guild that had attacked them inside the pyramid dungeon for rewards. He wondered whether these same hunters were joining the raid for the S-rank gate. Inside the chairman's office, Woo Jin-chul greeted Cho Jong-in warmly and guided him to a seat. Across from him sat the colossal presence of Thomas Andre, with Laura standing beside him. Woo Jin-cheol introduced Cho Jong-in as the leader of the Korean raid forces. Cho offered a polite greeting, all while thinking that this was indeed America's #1 hunter. Thomas Andre leaned back in his chair with an easy smile, remarking that introductions were unnecessary for him. Cho Jong-in swallowed hard, quietly acknowledging the overwhelming aura Thomas radiated. Then his assistant Laura stepped forward, placing a document neatly on the table. She announced that these were the Scavenger Guild's conditions for participating in the S-rank gate. She raised one finger as she explained the first condition. Korea would not be permitted to accept aid from any foreign guild except Scavenger. She lifted a second finger to outline the second condition. Scavenger would claim 80% of all rewards from the gate. Chairman Woo Jin-cheol slammed both hands on the table in outrage, declaring that 80% was unreasonable beyond belief. Thomas Andre let out a low, amused laugh. He leaned forward, propping one leg on the edge of the table with the casual dominance of a predator. To him, the offer was perfectly rational. Korea had requested foreign support, which meant Korea had judged that it could not clear an S-rank gate alone. Thomas stated coldly that when considering the devastation of a dungeon break, their price was cheap. From the side, Cho Jong-in whispered to Chairman Woo that Scavenger had not come to negotiate, but to issue a threat. Woo Jin-cheol's voice hardened. He explained that the request for support was made because the threat level of the gate could not be measured, not because Korea lacked strength. He reminded Thomas that Korea had recently gained 2 new S-rank hunters. No matter how the situation was viewed, he considered Scavenger's demands absurd. He then stated firmly that Korea would decline Scavenger's help and seek support from other nations instead. Thomas Andre leaned back, his voice dropping to a colder tone. He asked them whether they knew about the incident in the Egyptian field-type dungeon. He explained that Scavenger had lost Randolph, one of their core members, along with several valuable hunters. Woo Jin-cheol's expression hardened. Thomas continued, pointing out that the Azure Guild had been present at the scene, as well as a group of Korean hunters. Rumors had spread afterward, claiming that Scavenger had been inferior to the Azure Guild. He stated that he had visited Azure personally to reclaim Scavenger's honor. Through one of their members, he had learned the name of the Korean hunter who had been involved. He glanced toward Laura and asked for the name again. Laura responded that the name was Sung Soo-ho. Both Woo Jin-cheol and Cho Jong-in stiffened in shock. Thomas's eyes narrowed. He stated that Soo-ho appeared to be connected to Randolph's death. The next words he delivered were sharp enough to cut the atmosphere in half. If Korea refused Scavenger's terms, then the compensation for Scavenger's losses would be paid with the life of Korea's new S-rank hunter, Sung Soo-ho. Silence crushed the room. Thomas leaned forward again and asked whether they still intended to refuse. He then suggested that perhaps Korea's last resort, their raid captain, would attempt to stop him. Cho Jong-in's expression twisted with despair. After dealing with the Apostle of Ethereum and now an unmeasurable S-rank gate, taking Scavenger as an additional enemy would only increase Soo-ho's burden. But before Cho could reply, voices erupted from outside the office. Someone complained loudly that listening quietly was only making him angrier. Another voice demanded to know where a person named Brad thought he was going. A frustrated growl insisted that someone come out while he was still asking nicely. A snarl called someone insane. And then a voice sharp as a blade commanded. He said, "Come out." The door burst open. Sung Soo-ho entered the room, dragged in by more than 5 scavenger hunters who gripped him tightly. Yet despite their efforts, not a single one of them could truly restrain him. A vein bulged on Thomas Andre's forehead as fury flickered in his eyes. Cho Jong-in gasped Soo-ho's name in shock. Soo-ho raised a hand, offering the room an apologetic gesture. He stated that he was sorry for interrupting so suddenly, and that if his actions caused trouble, Cho Jong-in was free to scold him later. Cho stuttered in confusion, asking what Soo-ho intended to do. Soo-ho simply shrugged. In that instant, every scavenger hunter gripping him was hurled backward at once, smashing into the walls like rag dolls. Gasps filled the office. Soo-ho stepped forward, his gaze locked onto Thomas Andre. He acknowledged Thomas as the American national-level hunter. His tone was steady and razor-sharp. He stated that Scavenger demanded 80% of the profit, but inside a gate, whoever seized the spoils first became the rightful owner. If Scavenger truly believed itself superior, then claiming more than 80% should not be a challenge. Both Woo Jin-cheol and Cho Jong-in froze in horror. Soo-ho had not merely provoked Scavenger, he had declared war. Thomas Andre rose slowly, an eager grin forming across his face. He stepped forward until he stood directly before Soo-ho, their auras scraping against one another like grinding steel. Thomas asked what Soo-ho would do if he were crushed here and now. Soo-ho responded that if Thomas caused trouble on Korean soil, then the world would say Scavenger had come to Korea for chaos, not cooperation. A violent, deep purple aura burst from Soo-ho's body. He asked Thomas what gave him the confidence to believe he would win. Thomas removed his glasses, revealing eyes burning with fury. A brilliant golden aura exploded from him in response. Purple and gold mana collided violently, filling the room with raw pressure. Two monsters faced one another only seconds away from combat.